You want a piece of me, boy?
Nuclear launch detected.
Welcome back, everybody, for the last time to Starcraft 2 Nation Wars, the qualifier day here. Day one. It's been a very long day, but I think it's safe to say that we have saved the best for last. This is obviously the Nation War that we've all been waiting for. It's time for the UK versus USA.
Hell yeah, USA, USA. Of course, being American myself, I might be a little bit biased here, but I also think that just in general, Neeb is just too hard to defeat. So I was going to go with the 4-0, unless Neeb has an off day.
I mean, I think the UK is pretty good. I think Risky is good, and obviously we've got the Muslim, who's in really good shape. Not only did he qualify for WESG, yesterday he made his first appearance in the Wardy Team League. He killed Root by himself. I think this is going to be fun. Obviously, everybody is super excited to see the likes of not just Neeb and Puck, but also Nathanius come in action. Nate was awesome last year, where he had a great victory over Demonizer back then. Was actually a very strong Terran player from Venezuela. I'm excited, and don't worry about the little bit of bias here at Nation Wars. Everyone goes full bias.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think I maybe heard the gaming casters like a little excited for the French players. Like, I don't know. But of course, I hope that I would actually be totally fun if Nate came out first and like screwed up my score, or maybe kept it perfect at 4-0. Come on, Nate. But
if Nate would all kill the UK, then I think we're going to have to do something very special for Nate. I'll run down the Champs-Élysées with an American flag on my back or something. But I think that's going to be pretty hard for my brother Nate, no matter how much I love him. Super excited for this one. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the qualifiers today. Of course, everything is brought to you by O Gaming and Blizzard Entertainment. Oh, all right. We've got our first matchup. Nice. I love it. It is going to be good old Nate, as he's going to up against Thibault.
Yeah. Of course, you know, he might get the revive as well should he go down. But now Nathanius going out first, Thibault going out first. It might just be an agreement to send out some players that don't usually get the limelight. Or it might actually be just an attempt to see what, of course, the other team sends out first. Because whoever goes next after this, the follow-up, whoever loses, actually will be able to know. You know, like, is it Protoss, is it Zerg, is it Terran?
Getting a cheeky tweet here from Emil, of course, the fantastic, super passionate Polish caster who's pretty much everywhere, anytime, and in every game. Big shout out to Emil. Of course, keep the tweets coming, guys. Hashtag NW4. And of course, let us know who you think is going to win. I'm not sure what the hashtag is here. Could be hashtag UK win, hashtag USA win. Our first map is going to be Newkirk Precinct. Not a bad map for some Terran mech shenanigans.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. So it is a TVP, in case you don't know the name Thibault too much, but it is a Protoss player. And I don't know about mech versus Protoss, but I do know that Nathanius mech is always on point. It's 100%. So
if Nate makes it up to 3 bases, there is a very good chance we are going to see some battle cruises. I mean, anybody who's been watching Nate's stream lately will have seen the highlight reels of the Yamato cannons, of his Blink battle cruiser micro. I mean, who could have ever thought that we were going to say those words once upon a time in Starcraft 2? But it's a thing when you watch Nate his stream, man. I'm excited, man. I really hope that Nate does well here. I definitely think there's a little bit of pressure on his shoulders. I mean, there was a little bit of backlash, you know, on Twitter by people saying like, Nathanius shouldn't have signed up. And then there were a lot of people defending him as well. It's like, no, we want to see Nate in action. This is awesome. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great, too. I'm really hoping that Nate actually, against a Protoss player and like a 2-spawn map, too, I think there's actually a decent shot at some type of cheese or attack, tank-based, cyclone-based that can actually really screw up Protoss players. So I have faith in Nate, especially for this first match.
Yeah, but I also don't think that like Nate would necessarily go too far out of his comfort zone, right? He loves playing super late game at the moment, feels very comfortable with his late game compositions, and I think it's all about, you know, sticking to what you've been practicing and sticking to what you've known. Like, I'd be very surprised if Nate suddenly, you know, comes out guns blazing here with a bio opening or thinks he's beyond, you know. I don't think that's what he should be going for. Either way, we are very excited, and hopefully you guys are excited as well, as we are loaded into Newkirk Precinct. And to you, the honest, Jess.
On the bottom right, for USA, he is the red Terran Nathanius.
So cool. I'm casting Nathanius. What a time to be alive, guys. Over here on the left bottom side of Newkirk Precinct, we're looking at the main base of the British Protoss. It is Thibault.
Ah, boy. All right, so Probe already sent over, maybe a little scared of some type of proxy or early game shenanigans. It's a pretty early scout, also early enough to be totally obnoxious to that SCV. As you said, Nathaniel's probably looking towards that late game. It would be really awesome if he did throw something different. He has actually been practicing for Nation Wars and hoping to get that score on the team, so Neeb doesn't have to do all of the work. But of course, Puck, I guess, again, like kind of the last member that everyone's thinking about. Nathanius with, his popularity and I guess a little bit of drama, and of course Neeb being Neeb. Puck's often forgotten about, but there's a lot of players that Nate can fall back on should he end up losing this game.
He's actually playing this incredibly safe, dropping the CC on the high ground. Wow, Nate really not taking any risk here at all. He even scouted, and he saw that the Nexus was being wiped in as well. So I'm a tiny bit surprised to see Nate drop the CC here on the high ground. Maybe a little bit worried about some weird pylon shenanigans early on.
Yes.
Which is something that we see pretty often actually in this day and age, where we see the first adept, second adept, or adept stalker, and then a probe making its way across the map. Reaper will be able to find this probe, so this probe is not going to be wiping any pylons, even if it wants to.
Yeah, it is really curious to see, like, even a command center on the high ground, with the just popularity of pylon rushes, it's still unorthodox. It usually has other ways to defend against it and prepare for it if that is what you're worried about. So this is a very safe opener. It does delay your economy just the tiniest little bit. Reaper, unfortunately, also having checked everywhere else besides T-Ball's main base, only just now getting there. It should be able to, I think, even the militia tagging it. Yeah, there you go.
So you already see the Widow Mine opening and the Cyclone follow-up as well. I'm not sure if that Reaper saw the robotics facility. I don't think it did. Oh, it did.
Just barely.
Okay. Well, man, had his binoculars on.
Exactly. And I guess Nathanius probably would have had enough time to click on that, but it's a little bit up in the air. You could just guess that it's going to be a typical Protoss opener, I suppose. If you're just, the Stargate usually we play someplace a little more secret, but Widow Mine and Cyclone. Widow Mine not going to be able to take out that Adept, but the Cyclone can actually go across the map. It has such micro potential that it's safe going for an aggressive move.
Yeah, I was a tiny bit surprised not to see some of the other UK players being voted in. I'm pretty familiar with Mythic, a very strong Terran from the United Kingdom scene. I mean, he's been Grandmaster League for a long time, Heart of the Swarm, Legacy of the Void, and of course Clad the Lad himself. So I'm expecting quite a bit here from T-Ball. If he made it in over those guys, this Protoss should absolutely be capable of playing a very good PvT here.
Yeah. Of course, the one thing is that if he doesn't play Nathanius or doesn't watch Nathanius too often, maybe he's a little surprised by his play style.
Everybody watches Nathanius.
Of course.
Come on. Who watches StarCraft and doesn't watch Nathanius?
But that's the only thing I can think of, is that he would be a little bit surprised by the odd things coming out of Nathanius' production facilities, and of course more than one factory at that. Third CC already almost done.
Relatively fast blink, scan being thrown down in the main base, and Nate will see the Twilight Council. Should have been able to see that it was researching something as well. With multiple stalkers on the way, I think Nate has a good idea of what he's up against. I think the best approach here for T-Ball would be not to go all-out commitment, because I think Nate in general is very good in defending like crazy aggression. There is a War Prism on the way, so there is a chance that we'll see our British Protoss be very aggressive. But I kind of think that plays into Nate his strengths. Like, Nate should be capable of dealing with stuff like that, even though it can be scary, of course. Blink Stalkers and a War Prism is always scary, but if anything, this is stuff that Nate should face very often with his build.
Yeah, I would say that he defensively mech players, like that's got to be where their highlight is. That's most of mech is defending until you're at a very stable point, usually 3 bases, 5 factory production, and then maybe you can think about being aggressive yourself, but even then, sometimes you wait until you're completely maxed out. The Observer's going to see that the army is not too big. The Warp Prism is pretty important here. It doesn't actually break any lock-ons anymore, but the Observer goes down here.
That's pretty big, actually, getting an Observer snipe, because that means that these Widow Mines are going to cause quite a bit of trouble. Once again, there is still no third Nexus for T-Ball, which I think is a little bit risky. I really think against these kind of playstyles of a Terran player, you want to be expanding as quickly as possible, because we already saw how safe Nate played early on with the, his very defensive first CC. One mine does shoot at absolutely nothing there. He's going to be able to trigger the second mine as well, but now there is a tank. Is he going to jump on top of the tank with multiple Cyclones here? That's a risky blink, but he's going to go for it immediately. The tank does get a couple of shots off.
Yeah, the Cyclones are going down pretty quickly. The Focus Fire is good. The Stalker's going to be picked up by the War Prism as well. The SVs absolutely have to be pulled, but Nathanius might just not have enough production.
Yeah, he's getting a couple of extra Cyclones. Don't forget about these mines. The mines could potentially shoot maybe at the Prism as well. It's just the depths remaining. I think Nathanius will hold.
Yeah, just barely, but he lost 18 SCVs. Now he does have a third
That's
CC,
okay.
and T-Bull is still only on 2 bases, so that's actually pretty okay.
Yeah.
He's only down 2 workers, in fact, and as long as his production wasn't compromised, which it wasn't, he should have a fine time for actually the next few minutes here even. Get his third base, push back those stalkers. T-Bull isn't entirely retreating, which I think is the better move, at least scaring anything off from the immediate third base, but eventually he will have to retreat.
Yeah, that's risky. Is he going to try it one more time? All these stalkers are very expensive, by the way. I know a lot of people think like, oh, stalkers are not that expensive. If you're 2-base Protoss, stalkers are a very, very expensive unit. That was a great hold. Losing 18 SCVs looks very dramatic, but with triple CC, that's completely okay. And these Cyclones should be able to trade quite well here. Should be able to pick off both adepts. One Cyclone will fall. But if they can get a couple of stalkers here, that's enough.
Yeah, that was a little bit over-eager there. I think he definitely should have waited for tanks or probably 3 more Cyclones, and then he can take on a lot of stalkers. So Dark Shrine is falling up here, and of course the War Prism is still alive. I mean, on 2 bases, Nathaniel shouldn't have too much of a trouble catching the Dark Templar before they do too much damage.
I totally agree, especially with the triple CC, right?
Yeah.
He's going to have plenty of scans available, and we already have a couple of turrets up as well. I think Nate is quite pleased with this early game, especially because that third Nexus was so late. Now, I'm not sure if Nate knew how late it was. That would be a terrible blink, by the way. I really don't recommend that one. And I'm happy to see that T-Bull indeed did not decide to go for it. He's going to warp in multiple Dark Templars. A tiny bit surprised. I really think that T-Bull should just chill out for a moment, sit back, get his macro going, get the transitions going, and just contain Nathanius. Be happy with the fact that you're playing against a 2-base Terran for now.
Yeah, exactly. A mech player at that, like that would be perfectly acceptable, especially if you got a really good production off of it and good economy off of it too. But he's going to try and push the issue. The DTs are being dropped in here. Okay, you get the missile turret, but your War Prism almost dies, and they're probably going to have at least 1 scan with 3 CC.
Yep, there it is. The first scan. How many Dark Templars? Ooh, the War Prism is so low in HP, but
gosh.
it will actually get out of here. He does unload. The Dark Templars might still turn around and pick him up. He's playing with fire, but
1 DT left behind. Yeah, of course, the one problem for Nathanius is without that starport, like 1 Viking would have definitely killed that War Prism, but also would have stopped further War Prism harassment, or at least made him think twice about it. Without a starport, that's not an option.
yeah, this is a very key moment right now, as Nate is going to float over his CC. Is he able to secure this base without too much trouble? He does have the turrets, he has the mines, he has a couple of tanks as well. If he can just land it whenever he wants, that would be extremely good for our American Terran player.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it really is taking a long time getting his third base secured. Of course, there's the push out earlier with a couple of Cyclones that lost their lives, and then just losing a tank now. The CC is just, it shouldn't go down. The SCV should be there at the very least. Yeah, it's not going to go down, but it is taking its sweet time actually getting on location and mining.
Yep, T-Bull meanwhile going up to 4 bases. That's exactly what you want to do. He's getting charged right now. It's a tiny bit late, but at the same time getting charged is always useful. He's losing a lot of stocks. That's a very weird blink, I think. There's a Widowmine there, multiple tanks, and these Cyclones will pick off all these stalkers, and just when things were starting to look a little bit better for T-Bull, he decided to throw away the majority of his units.
Yeah, the War Prism finally goes down. That lock-on not as good as it used to be to that air, but yeah, that was a very questionable blink, and of course he wasn't anticipating the Widowmine on top of the tanks, which was a big damage dealer, but even without it, I think that was a bad blink in.
These tanks, they only need to get 1 or 2 shots off, and it's already phenomenal. Yes, there are a couple of Zealots that soon will be charge lots, and the first Immortals are out, but you want to keep those Stalkers alive. It's incredibly useful to have a couple of mobile units out there just to prevent additional bases, be annoying, you know, try to pick off a Cyclone 1 at a time if the tanks are unsieged. And Nate is going to be pretty happy. I mean, yes, there is a 4th base up for the Protoss, but that 3rd was late, the 4th is a little bit late. This is gonna go on for a while, and this is normally Nathanius his playground.
Yeah, I think he would be very confident here. There's one thing to know that like your third base was a bit late, but you also took out their army in multiple engagements, so you're feeling pretty good as Nathanius right now. Now, T-Bull shouldn't feel too bad either. He does have 4 bases secured. He's on his way to more production, higher tech as well. But if you can't break the Terran mech player early on, and you try to and fail, it usually means you just got to deal with the late game mech Terran, which is difficult.
No upgrades indeed at all. A couple of Cyclones did manage to sneak by on the north side of the map, so a couple of these probes will fall. Nice little run by. 3 Cyclones, however, is pretty expensive, and they should all fall. So I'm not 100% sure if this was totally worth it, but
yeah. Yeah, that was a little bit questionable. I mean, he didn't even try and escape right there, but he does have that SimCity set up back at home, so even if he, loses a couple of Cyclones, his tanks will probably be fine. He is going for multiple starports and that fusion core, so battle cruisers.
Yep, our very first battle cruisers of the day. We had to wait 7 best of 7s for it, but Nathanius, our memester, will deliver.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to have really good upgrades as well. Tuto already on the way, and it's just... I don't know, if T-Bull tries to break him here, which looks like he's going forward to do so, and is unable to, that could be a serious problem.
Don't do this. I refuse to believe that you can break this. Yes, Immortals are good and all, but no Protoss army should ever run into this unless you've got 7 Tempest, and even Tempest are not that good anymore. I honestly think the best thing for T-Bull to do right now is throw down Stargates, identify, realize what you're playing against. I would absolutely not do this either, no.
Nope. Good idea to try and distract your opponent, as usually, but not when they have missile turret rings like that. So many Widow Mines too are going to pop off, and there's just, I agree, there's no way T-Bull's going to be able to break Nathanius' third base, but again, about keeping him off the fourth base, that might still be totally possible, and it looks to be what he's thinking about doing.
Yeah, but Nate is already going to be quite rich in the near future, and as soon as Nathanius will be to get a couple of BCs, if the Stargates are not out yet, it's going to be very annoying, because just a couple of defensive Stalkers is not going to be enough. You're going to lose Stalkers over and over again. Nate should be able to save pretty much all of his battle cruisers. They're so much better since they don't have that energy bar anymore. I like where this is going for Nate, and I really think that Nate likes where this is going for him as well.
God.
Like, yeah, it's looking a little grim if you look from his point of view, where he has no map presence whatsoever. But considering the fact what he's going for and the units that he's up against, I really don't think he minds that much that he has no map vision, that he has no map presence right now.
I was going to say, all he really needs to do is scan and see that if there's like already a lot of Tempest on the way, then maybe he has to be a little bit concerned, but there's not. Of course, he's not scanning everything, but I think just also judging from the army that's right outside his base, he knows that it's not quite a worry, and he will be getting to this really good, well-upgraded army that I don't think T-Bull's going to be prepared for. Finally, the Stargates are on the way.
Yeah, it's late. I mean, T-Bull is rich, though, so he will be able to get multiple Stargates. I recommend him getting +1 air weapons as quickly as possible as well. But as soon as the first battlecruiser harass starts, that's where things get interesting, because it may look like our Protoss is quite rich at the moment, but as soon as these first BCs start chipping away and forcing out more and more defensive Stalkers, there's a very good chance that this is not going to go all that well. And just a couple of Stargate units is not even enough either, because don't forget about Yamato Cannon. No, he's got to go for it, and I'm really thinking that this is a bad move.
Oh my god, the Charlottes actually, some of them getting on top of those tanks. The Widow Mines can only do so much. There's a couple of Widow Mines off to the left that still aren't shooting. He's actually breaking through with the Archon and the Immortals. It's happening. The battlecruisers aren't here to defend either. I think they did already warp pack. Yeah, they actually warped into the main base. There's a lot of Stalkers trying to target fire down those battlecruisers, but was Nate broken? I
mean, there's still a lot of mines there as well, and these mines could potentially all shoot again. That's so many mines. Soon they will have drilling claws as well. Yes, there are Immortals and Archons, but with all these mines, I don't see a single observer here. I'm sure the observers have died. Good shots there on those mines. I don't know, it's hard to call. I mean, Nate doesn't have anything other than 1 BC and 21 Widow Mines.
Oh god, 21 Widow Mines. He needs to bring them back, though. I think he's still microing his battlecruisers on the main base. Was this too much damage? He's now... I mean, when the Protoss get on top of the Terran production, that's usually going to be game over. There's so many Widow Mines, there's no way they're going to be taken out. He's going to have to run away from him, but he's eventually going to be trapped in the main base.
The only issue is for Nate is that he's incredibly broke. A couple of these mines do get picked up immediately. He needs a BC at home. Just 1 or 2 BCs would clean this army up with absolutely no problem whatsoever.
I think his BCs were finally cleaned up. I just don't think he has any. Yeah, that's GG.
Wow, it looks so promising. It looked like he had such a good setup.
It looked like the Great Wall of Nate would never be broken. But I guess Archons and Immortals, there's enough of them. The charge lots, even though they funneled in, still soaked up enough of the shots from the tanks.
There was a hole in the wall.
Yeah,
it didn't look like there was a hole in that great American wall, but there was. And there were a lot of mines on the left side that obviously did not do anything. Drilling Claws was a tiny bit late to the party. Maybe instead of sending all 3 BCs immediately to the Protoss' base, he should have kept them at home, and then he would have been able to absolutely stabilize, because there was no NTR there, absolutely 0 NTR. I mean, 2-3 Archons, that's nothing against BCs. And, you know, Archons with Stalkers together, they can sort of trade, but just 3 or 4 Archons, they have no DPS against the BC whatsoever. Gotta give some credits to T-Bull there, though, because running into, you know, that wall of supply depots, of engineering base, and then all these tanks, but he was able to get nice and close to those tanks very, very quickly without losing all that much. Yeah,
all the Archons and the Immortals got to the tanks, which is, of course, the most important part. So it was a very good bust. I definitely think that Nate probably should have waited until maybe 180, maybe even maxed out to start his harassment, because I think he was at like 160 when the bust happened, and maybe that would have been the difference of holding and then counterattacking, as opposed to getting bust on 3 bases.
Nice little meme there. Captain America, Nate himself. Let's go. #USA. Unfortunately for Nate, it wasn't meant to be this time on Neil Kirk. I think if he would have repositioned a couple of these mines, I mean, I think he was overly prepared on the left side and perhaps not that prepared on the right side. I still think that you have to be an absolute madman to run into that, but I mean, Thibault made it work, so all kudos to him.
Yeah, he had faith in his composition, I suppose. I can't imagine that he faces that type of style too often, but there are other mech players on ladder, believe it or not, so I guess he's actually fairly confident against it.
All right, that means that the UK has taken a 1-0 lead over USA. Let's see who comes out next. Is it going to be Puck for a PvP, or will it be the American King himself, Neep? Just waits for the Nathaniel's all-kill. Well, it could still be the reverse all-kill Rift. That's absolutely possible. We might revive Nathaniel's,
exactly.
but I'm not sure if Neep would be incredibly happy with that suggestion. He'll probably be like, "Nah, guys, like, you know, I did win Casper Cup after all." Like
I'm kind of good. Like, you should revive me. I don't know.
You know, like I'm not as good as you guys think I am, but I'm really not that bad.
Of course, that's what he would. That's what he would say. But yeah, Puck is the other option, of course, and maybe they're just going to send out the two players before, I guess, their heaviest hitter, which there's some different ways to play. I don't actually know like how the captains are chosen, if they are chosen at all amongst the players, but it is going to be Neeb coming out here, and I do expect him to get the all kill, unless the Muslim has something to say about it.
I think you're underestimating my boy Ben. Ben is really good at the moment.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I think PVT is also in this like really weird state where both sides of the PVT matchup like hate each other. Even though apparently like balance kind of dictates more, it's more Terran favored. I do know that a lot of Terrans do not like it. I know a lot of Protosses have a terrible time too against special types of Terrans. So like the mass liberators can be very tough to deal with, but of course drop heavy Terrans are also obnoxious. I think that Neeb is just like too solid in defense, though. I don't know.
I mean, of course, if you look at the results of 2016, there might be a lot of people listening to me right now. It's like, yeah, I know that you're friends with the Muslim, but now you're being ridiculous. You know, it's Neeb against the Muslim. Obviously, Neeb is going to destroy. But I think it truly depends a little bit which Neeb shows up. I mean, if this is Casper Cup Neeb, then yes, you know, I love Ben, but then it's going to be incredibly difficult. But, you know, Neeb has struggled against a couple of foreign Terrans in the past. You know, lost against Marine Lord, DreamHack Valencia, lost against Utermo in the finals of the Intel Extreme Masters Shanghai. And the Muslim, if he's really on his A++ game, as he liked to call it himself, I really think that Ben is up there. He's really not that far behind the likes of a Marine Lord and the like of Utermo. Even when it comes to I mean, online results, it's obviously a little bit different than LAN results, and I know that when it comes to LAN performance, the Muslim has to, you know, maybe get a couple of results to truly be named among those guys. But I've always had a lot of faith in Ben, and it's not just because, you know, I love the guy, obviously, but every now and then you can really see when the Muslim, you know, kicks it into overdrive, he's such a good player. So it's just going to be a great clash between the Muslim and Neeb later on. But let's see how Neeb does in the PvP against Thibault, as Thibault... Yeah, he looked pretty good.
He did. And we are getting into the game on Daybreak. It's game number 2 in the top right. As the blue Protoss for the UK, he is Thibault.
Daybreak is going to be our map, as over here on the left bottom side, looking in the main base of the Casper Cup champ himself. It is Neeb.
So usually I would say that sometimes, you know, a mirror matchup, like all mirror matchups, something wonky can happen, but Neeb's PvP is still actually his best. I think everyone recognizes his talent in PvZ and his micro and PvT, but PvP has just been the thing that he's also felt most comfortable with, so I think this is no sweat for him.
I mean, the Casper Cup victory obviously came off the back of his amazing PvP, and we even saw that the WCS Global players as well, how good Neeb truly is in this matchup. I don't think there are many people who enjoy playing super late game against Neeb when it comes to this Disruptor Wars. He's something else. So if I was Thibault, I would probably think outside of the box. I wouldn't want to play Neeb's game here because that seems almost like a mission impossible. So maybe try to surprise him with some Stargate play and maybe a weird timing between, you know, 1 and 2 bases. Obviously get 2 Nexus, but then do something funky. Maybe cut workers a little earlier. We'll see.
Yeah, I do wonder what type of like funky things you can throw out at Neeb. Because again, defensively, he's always seemed so solid. But you brought up his off days, which does happen. The struggle for Neeb, I feel, in 2016 has not been his skill level. It's been his consistency. Like, is he that Neeb that we expect? Unfortunately, no in some tournaments. And, of course, in others, like, absolutely fantastic, like Casper Cup. And it's where it's when he's off that one thing leads to a snowball effect.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen the most of. Like, he misses one Widow Mine pull on his probes, and he just, like, crumbles from there, even if it wasn't actually that bad. So that's something that, of course, if T-Bull is a little aggressive, maybe he can get into his head a little bit.
Yeah, that's definitely been true. When it rains, it pours for Neep. I think the Marine Lord series was the ultimate example of that. It was just, you know, one Warp Prism with a Disruptor or 2 Disruptors flew into a couple of Marines, and from that point on, it just felt that for the next 3 games, everything that could have gone wrong pretty much went wrong back then for Neep. But I also think that Neep has grown even more as a player ever since, and there is a reason why he gets so much praise from all the other European pro gamers. I mean, even the likes of Showtime have said that it's ridiculous how good Neep sometimes is, and that Neep shouldn't even lose against other foreigners, because that's how good he can truly be.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's been impressed with Neeb at some point or another. Even the Korean casters are getting pretty hyped about his micro and Kespa Cup. We do have T-Bull with that Stargate play after that Nexus, so maybe he gets something in the main base here. I have to imagine Neeb's still going to be playing pretty defensive and on points. There's always a chance.
I like Stargate plays a lot. We saw it a little bit early today. We saw Space Marine bust out the Stargate, and he played it in the way that I love. Phoenix into Immortal. This could obviously also be an Oracle opening, don't get me wrong. Neep has 4 Stalkers already, and you could always think of putting on a little bit of pressure. Neep's going to open up with the Robo, which means later Twilight. So if this would be a Phoenix opening, that's really quite solid news for T-Bull. But it could also just be an Oracle. Most Protoss players prefer Oracles. I'm a big Phoenix lover.
Yeah. All right, so it is going to be that Oracle opener here. Again, it might not get any damage done, but as long as it survives, Revelation's very good, and the potential for later probe kills is always still there.
Twilight Console will be warped in after the Robo. Neep absolutely taking no risk here. Sometimes if you take the Twilight before the Robo, things could get a little bit dicey if you lose a few workers and suddenly Dark Templars could run in or anything like that. This is pretty much the safest way to play PvP. If you're Neep right now, this is a build order that speaks confidence.
Yeah, okay. Oh, there comes the Oracle. It's going to go, I guess, to that natural base first.
Stalkers are a little bit out of position, by the way. We see the 2 Stalkers. No, those are Adepts. Never mind.
Adepts, yeah.
It looked like 4 Stalkers, but actually, no, the Stalkers are not out of position at all. Okay. Sorry, guys. I got tricked by the mini-map.
Well, the Adepts are still important to talk about. They're going to go into that natural, I suppose. Maybe get a bit of scouting. Maybe see an opportunity to get a couple of probe kills themselves. But it looks like Neeb has his anti-air units in position for this Oracle, and in fact is easy peasy. Already dealing a little bit of damage to the hull too, pretty low.
Yeah, that's very solid. Leaving Mothership Choice in the main. At least T-Bull did not end up losing any probes. It's 34 workers against 33, so that's not that bad, and the Oracle is still alive, so that's good news for our British probes.
Yeah, the Oracle can come back again later for that scouting, and then a couple of probes. Blink is going to be a little bit later for T-Bull. We do have the Forge on the way as well for Neeb, something we talked about in the past. Just seems very stylistic, whether you want to get that +1 early or late.
I think he might going to try to shade the Adepts in and draw the focus fire of the Stalkers, and then maybe try to make something happen. Or maybe try to pull some units out of position and then see if he can find an opening with the Oracle. I like the way that he's playing. I mean, he's playing very adventurous at least. Neeb's not falling for this one. He's just not even moving those Stalkers.
It's a pretty classic attempt. So Neeb, of course, not going to fall for something like that. Had everything in position. I mean, T-Bull actually might have been got by it, to be honest. His Oracle was almost going to go in, and the 3 Stalkers started attacking it. So Nexus is already on the way for Neeb. He feels rather confident. I think he does. Oh, he no longer has his Onagas. Never mind. It's T-Bull who actually has some vision on the map.
It's pretty cute. He dropped a Revelation and somehow managed to hit a single Stalker. It's not the hardest spell in the game to hit, but perhaps a little nervous there as well. But at least he sees something. He sees that 1 Stalker. So Neeb is going up to 3 bases. While T-Bull has, as Le Tut likes to say, le explosion de gate. As he threw down a lot of additional gateways. This is obviously a very classic scenario in PvP. One player tries to go up to 3 bases, while the other player, this is mostly Korean style, right? Like, oh, you go up to 3 bases? Well, yeah, I'm going to go 8 gate or 7 gate, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of Stalkers and Sentries and 1 or 2 Immortals and run across the map and try to kill you. Neeb is obviously very, very familiar with this scenario. You know what would be sick? I don't think it's going to happen, but imagine if Neeb would pull the Mothership out of position and then the Oracle chips away at that 1 pylon that's powering all 5 gateways for Neeb.
Oh, yeah. That's a little awkward. Hopefully he recognizes it. I guess the chance of that pylon being killed is kind of low. I mean, there's no Warp Prism out in play yet, but yeah, that Oracle could. He's going to keep revelating, or getting revelation on those upgrades, I suppose. I mean, seeing what other textures just come down, but you would think they would be on the army.
It's important that Neeb knows where the army is of Thibaut, and he's going to know that right now, not before losing one Stalker. Because the moment you're out of position, then Force Fields can suddenly make things very, very complicated. Neeb is going to follow his Blink tech up with Resonating Glaives as well.
Yeah, as you're talking about being a little bit out of position, it looks a little scary. Of course, that third base kind of acts sometimes as an additional force field.
Just one pylon as well.
Yeah, only one photon overcharge at a time. I mean, the army supplies are pretty even. You're actually Neeb even a little bit up with that +1. Well, the third base definitely shouldn't die.
Wow.
That Blinken is aggressive.
Yeah, and the force fields will go down, so a couple of these Stalkers will get picked up immediately. So far, this looks like an excellent hold from Neeb. Thibaut thinking he saw an opportunity, but there was no opportunity. Now, the Oracle is going to get picked up as well, not before at least dropping Revelation. One Immortal will fall for Neeb.
Yeah, but there's 2 Immortals still left over. I guess one has his barrier popped, but I do not think this is going to be a position that he can actually break. Maybe he could have gotten more damage on the Nexus, as he still wants to hang around as long as he has the Warp Prism, I suppose, but still down to that army supply and down an upgrade.
That's a couple of force fields, not all that many. He's going to be able to drop one, though. Nice blink there by Neeb is going to allow the majority of his units to participate in this battle. Not a good force field by Neeb. Gets another Immortal. Now just a single Immortal remain for our British Protoss.
Yeah. And that Warp Prism is going to go down along with maybe the rest of the army. The Immortals actually kept back by a good force field from Thibaut, so he's going to be able to get away with at least a good number of units. Still down an army supply, has a Dark Shrine on the way, another Warp Prism, but he is going to be countered. Neeb is going forward.
Big problem for Thibaut is that he never got a Forge, and +2 is already on the way, and +2 against, 0/0 Stalkers against +2 Blink Stalkers actually makes a massive difference. One more Immortal getting picked off there by another forward Blink, and Neeb is just feeling incredibly confident right now. The March of the Immortal.
Yep. This is probably the longest game I've seen not going to that Disruptor tech without, mass Adepts or mass Shroud or something weird like that. So finally we have the Robotics Bay down for both players. I thought Neeb was actually going to continue pushing in, but I guess the ramp scared him a little bit. Still taking a very dominant position in the game, being very aggressive. Now just going to use his Stalkers to poke and prod.
I also think he's a tiny bit worried about the fact he didn't have a Warp Prism on the other side of the map.
Yeah.
No matter how good your defense has been, running to the other side of the map in PvP without a Prism. Like, Neeb is probably good enough to know that he's in a very sweet position and he could have potentially pushed the issue there. But without a Warp Prism, it's still always a tiny bit risky.
Yeah. Well, the DTs are going to come in here, and there's actually not a lot of defenses, so I think a lot of probes are going to go down.
Wow, not a single
Maybe.
observer for Neeb on the map.
Oh,
I didn't even realize that. Wow, that's actually going to hurt quite a bit. This Dark Shrine is going to be able to be a lot more successful than I thought it was.
Yeah, he's now getting an Observer, and he was trying to get cannons as soon as I guess he saw or thought about the possibility of DTs, but they were a little bit late, so 11 probes go down. A couple more probably as the Observer still has to make their way to the army. 15 now.
This changes
is some
everything.
Really good damage.
Yeah, this is insane. I mean, these Dark Templars have done an insane amount of damage. They also forced Neeb all the way back. One Dark Templar is going to try to sneak into the main. Observer barely gives vision, but it's a little slower. In the end, he will be able to pick it up.
A little bit awkward Warp Prism exchange here. I think Neeb, he took a lot of damage. He's now down 14 probes. It also lost him that momentum that he just gained. But, he still has +2 weapons. He has his Disruptor tech almost ready to go. He just actually start producing Disruptors. There we go now. And he still is on 3 bases, but that was really good by Thibaut.
Neeb does have that one more Prism now as well on the other side of the map. But, yeah, excellent game so far by our British Protoss. He's putting up one hell of a fight against Neeb.
Yeah, it's not quite at a worrying state for either one of them right now, as their numbers are pretty close here, but it is just, it's shocking, I suppose, that Neeb hasn't already won, basically. He's PvP again, like one of the best matchups, one of those confident matchups, still dying to DTs too. This is also one of those things we're talking about where, like, one thing goes wrong, suddenly everything starts going wrong for Neeb.
Yeah, and it's not just the damage that these Dark Templars are doing, which has obviously been quite big, getting a kill there on the cannon as well. One more Dark Templar is going to try to run 2 Dark Templars actually jump on the cannon. Neeb should be able to take these Dark Templars out. But it's the fact that Thibaut is going up to 4 bases behind this, has double robotics facility, and is slowly but steady catching up a tiny bit in upgrades. But obviously upgrades matter a little bit less when disruptors come into play. And the most important, well, not the most important thing, but a very important thing as well, is that Thibaut still has that Stargate of the early game. So he could always get another Oracle out. That's going to give him potentially a lot of vision.
Yeah, that would be really nice, actually. But totally, the upgrades just, they were so important when it was just the gateway units, and that again, usually doesn't happen. Usually we see the robotics bay coming down a little little bit earlier than this game, but now that it's finally out, the double robo production is actually kicking in for both of them. Yeah, those upgrades sometimes won't be the difference maker. It'll definitely be the disruptor shots.
Yeah, I was wondering why Cloud the Lad did not make it into the team, or perhaps Mythic, but Thibault is showing us how good he really is. Whether he wins or loses this game, this has been some pretty damn impressive stuff so far.
Yeah. Well, of course, Neeb still has, you know, it's still a pretty even game, just the momentum lost. And, oh my god, more DT doing more damage.
These Dark Templars have done
oh
my god, a couple of big disruptor shots as well. And look at the supply suddenly. I have to quote Johan Merlo there. But things are starting to look pretty grim for USA, as Neeb right now is down 30-40 supply, mostly in workers. Does get a good trade there. He's able to pick up one disruptor. What happened to the... Okay.
Yeah, this is actually looking super scary. A couple of disruptors do not have their attack ready to go, but that's still 4 disruptors and a huge Blink Stalker army.
Neeb shot first there, so he will be able to pick up that disruptor too. Good hold right now by Neeb. Of course, the Immortals is still very important, but Immortals are not that good in running away from disruptor hits.
Oh gosh, Thibault's actually getting such a good army supply. Up 30 army supply now, and the upgrades just aren't that important. I mean, disruptor shots are getting hits. Does blink out of there, only gets 1 Stalker lost.
What's the disruptor count at right now?
I think 2 more just came out for Neeb, so 4-4 actually as the reinforcements arrive on that 4th base. It's really important that Neebs holds this, of course, because Thibault's already been on his 4th for some time and hasn't had to deal with DT damage.
It's crazy that Neeb has had is that a Colossus on the way for Thibault?
What?
Must be a misclick, right?
Oh yeah, that totally is. It looks so weird with its skin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen some experimentation with Colossus in PvP. But
Oh my god, the massive shot there for Neeb. Gets all the disruptors, and suddenly we are looking at a completely different game again. That one disruptor shot changes everything.
Oh my god. Gets the disruptors, of course, that supply plummets for Thibault and everything looks even once again. I mean, I was trying to mention that Neeb is very good at Blink Stalker Disruptor, but as soon as I did, he's the one that lost the Disruptors. Of course, as soon as he mentioned that Thibault's looking good, he loses his Disruptors, so of course that's PvP, I guess.
And the Caster Curse.
Yeah, of course, in the Caster Curse, but it's still 4 bases versus 4. Again, upgrades, maybe not the biggest deal, but we actually have Neeb already on the way to his shield upgrades.
No idea what this random Colossus is going to do. It must have been perhaps a misclick, or going to try to get a nice shot up there. Might connect with something now. I would love to see an Oracle. Come on, Thibault. You've got a Stargate. One Oracle would just be massive. Man, that is one badass looking Colossus. It's a shame it's really not going to do much. But
it looks awesome. It doesn't have, you know, thermal lands. It's going to die in a shot. Jeez, that's a lot of Stalkers going down. And actually Neeb's going to blink aggressively, only seeing 2 disruptors. Another one goes down.
Yeah, and suddenly the army of Neeb is starting to look a lot more healthy than this army of Thibault. That was very good, as Neeb had a flanking disruptor on the north side. Thibault thinking he could blink on top of it. And because he blinked on top of it, he couldn't blink away anymore from the additional disruptor hits. So great play there by Neeb. These adepts are derping around a little bit. The disruptor count is really starting to look a little bit dicey for Thibault. He really doesn't have that much. He has to blink. He does not blink.
Oh, jeez. Everything is just going so badly for Thibault all of a sudden. Just complete reversal of earlier. Actually blinks forward to the last second, so takes a bit of damage to the disruptors to 2 disruptors, but still keeps that 30 army supply lead.
Neeb, his own Dark Shrine is about to finish up, by the way, and he does have a prism on the north side of the map.
That's so
I love this pylon spread, by the way. That's going to give him some vision of these flanking disruptors. Things are going to get very wild. There was a massive hit, actually, by Thibault. I think he got 2 or 3 disruptors there.
Yeah, that was very nice. But the blink, oh my god, he blinks into this. He has a Colossus shooting away too. But so many disruptor shots from Neeb get on top of Thibault's army. Thibault just loses everything.
+3 Immortals and +3 Blink Stalkers are sealing the deal here. Wow, what a game though. Neeb does even things up. But Thibault showing us that the Muslim is not the only star that the UK has to offer, as he played really well.
He did play really well. I mean, not to like discredit his player or anything, but because he did play very well. But Neeb, I think that game was actually a testament to how much Neeb has grown. Again, not in skill, but in consistency and being able to recover from bad situations. I think anyone is getting tilted after getting like 3 DT attacks that kill like above 5-10 probes each. Like that'll tilt anyone. And Neeb, especially 6 months ago, but he's able to recover mentally and actually took what we expected, the Blink Stalker Disruptor fights, very well.
Yep, that is Neeb's game, and he's showing us that he's still, you know, the best kid in the class when it comes to that department. That one disruptor hit just changed everything when he was able to connect with 4 or 5 disruptors off Thibault, and from that point on, it really felt that Neeb started to take control again. Time to quit toying with them, the Neeb train. Well, there was definitely no toying there. Thibault just, oh man. Thibaut will look at that replay and realize that that was a unique opportunity for him to get a very, very big victory for the UK, because obviously defeating Neep once is incredibly hard. Doing it twice, that could be almost impossible. But I mean, if it can get this close, and then knowing that you also have the Muslim, and of course there is Risky on the team as well. Oh man, so far this Nation War is at least living up to the hype.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, UK versus USA was one of the most hyped matches, so we did save the best for last, and it's definitely hung up to that too. Thibaut looking so good, I should say. He didn't actually win, but looking so good actually makes me question if the Muslim is the revived choice. Of course, the Muslim is the next choice for the next game.
That's going to be awesome. So you guys know it. The Muslim versus Neep is coming up next. After 2 games, we always take a very quick break, and after that, we'll be back with USA versus the UK. Welcome back, everybody, to the final best of 7 of the day of the StarCraft 2 Nation Wars 4 qualifiers. We went through a crazy amount of games today already, but I think it's safe to say that we saved the best for last. USA versus the UK. Score is 1-all, and we're getting ready for perhaps the best match that we've seen all day as well. I think the Muslim versus Neep. When it comes to qualifiers, I think that's as good as it will get.
Yeah, I think the Muslim, as you have been saying for a while, is actually pretty on form. I know that he'll have times where he just looks so good. He feels so good on practice, but can't really perform when it comes to the online competition. But yesterday was a good sign, as he did all-kill root. And Neeb, even though Neeb also looks on form a little bit dicey around those DTs, but still very good overall in that PvP. Hopefully they're both on their A game, and they show really great PvT in this next match.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I really can't wait. What was the map? I was
Echo,
totally daydreaming. Okay, Echo it is. I'm a little bit surprised to see Echo here. I don't think it's a bad map for Protoss, but perhaps our British Terran has something special in store for us.
Yeah. Well, in the bottom right for the USA, he is the red Protoss, Neeb.
And over here on the left top side, we're looking at the main base. One of the best Terran players in Europe. It's a streamer, it's a caster, but above all, a fantastic player. It is the Muslim.
Yeah, the Muslim definitely one of those guys that is so impressive that he can stream as much as he does. I mean, he's been going on he used to go on really long tears streaming too, but of course still streaming a lot now, and yet have also a very good just performance, good skill. Again, maybe not always in the competitive play, but he's back in form, and yesterday looked really good.
I mean, I think one of the best showings of Ben, I mean, not the last Home Circuit Cup, but the one before, he actually made it out of the first group stage, which I think was really impressive. And then, of course, I think the best result he's had all year were the WESG qualifiers, where he was able to defeat Snoot. He made it out of a group that had Nurture, Snoot, and I think Marine Lord in it as well. Snoot was the one that was eliminated, and Nurture won the group, and Marine Lord and the Muslim advanced. And in the end, the Muslim won his playoff match as well against Night End, which secured his ticket to go to China. So perhaps in January we can get ready for TY or Maru versus the Muslim.
Oh boy.
They will never see it coming. They have no idea what this British Terran is capable of.
Of course. On this TVP, we talked about it earlier, as we did expect this to eventually happen. I mean, Nate and Thibaut coming out first, I guess. I was actually reading on Twitter, I think Nate was just saying how he just asked Nate what map he could play, which kind of sounds about right. Like, hey, Nate, can I please play before you all kill? Because I think even his teammates were expecting him to all kill. He said Nate probably is like, don't give me too much credit, but yeah, I expect so too. But the Muslim really is going to be, I think, stronger showing than a lot of other people are thinking. A lot of you guys may be thinking, as the Muslim does seem to be just in good form, not just on ladder, not just streaming, but also in competitive play.
Yep, and the Muslim is absolutely no stranger when it comes to playing against Neep. I mean, the Muslim is also a player that is always above 6k MMR on the European servers, 6.2, 6.3 sometimes. So obviously he has played a lot against Neep. He will know where Neep shines, and perhaps he will know about the weaknesses as well. Now, at the end of the day, when two players that are this good know each other, it always comes down to execution, right? Like, you can know as much about each other as you want, but in the end of the day, it really will come down to execution. We see the Cyclone follow-up over here by the Muslim.
Right, not a Widow Mine drop, which is the most standard opener you can really get. It's either a Widow Mine drop or sometimes 3-Rax builds, but Widow Mine drop usually be the most popular. So the Cyclone, I'm not sure. The Reaper does get in here, might get a single probe, but more importantly, might get into that main base to scout again, which it does. It's going to see the Robo Twilight Council.
The Muslim could have chosen to go for a probe there, but he rather gets a scout, and he's being annoying over here with his grenade. Photon overcharge. Neep has had enough. He's like, Can't be bothered with this Reaper anymore.
Yep. Yeah. So more Cyclones on the way. Is the second Cyclone? So it's going to be like a Cyclone drop? Yeah, there's a second Cyclone.
I don't think Cyclone, I think he's just going to run across the map with
Right.
Marines and Cyclones. These pushes are actually pretty hard to deal with. It's very important that you identify this in time as a Protoss player. We do see Blink being researched, but Blink is going to be a little bit late to the party. So it's very important that Neep identifies this as quickly as possible, and he does right now with this Adept, and he should probably drop a couple of pylons near the top of his ramp.
Yeah, exactly. So that Medevac's going to be able to boost across the map. Cyclones can reinforce fairly quick. I mean, Echo's kind of a big map, but it can be a difficult hold to make. Of course, as you said, the pylons on the top of the ramps can be hard to actually go up to, but this is what I was more anticipating, is that the Marines would also drop while the Cyclones push forward. Sometimes vice versa, like the Cyclones are dropped too, but that's obviously a little more weird. So the Marines, they could get some damage done. Actually, he's going to bring one Cyclone with the Medevac. It could just be get over there a little bit quicker. But if he sees like that scan, I'm not sure if it revealed the pylons up there too, but if he knows he can't push up the main, didn't actually quite do that, then maybe he might just go into drop mode and try and buy some time.
Exactly, he might try to pull the Mothership Core out of position. Blink is halfway done, so this is perhaps that moment that there is something possible for the Muslim. However, Neep's micro in general is so incredibly good and solid. The Muslim will drop that third CC now as well. Good Adept Scout there by Neep, knows exactly what's going on. The Muslim is going to have to be very careful, but maybe the Muslim is just happy by keeping Neep on 2 bases for a little while longer.
Yeah, I think with one pylon, maybe you're hopeful you can target it down, even if you get force fielded. Of course, there's no sentries right now, as we know, but 2 pylons, that's a little bit too risky to go into.
I do think that the Muslim has to be careful that he doesn't overstay his welcome with Blink finishing up, and it seems like he has identified it as well. So far, I really like the way that the Muslim has played this game. He's not overcommitting. I think he has a good read on what's happening, and there is a Liberator heading towards the natural. Stalker's a tiny bit out of position, so if the Muslim is able to pick up a couple of probe kills here, that would be very nice.
Yeah, 1 or 2 it looks like. Okay, there's the 1. So 1.
But lost mining time as well, and that's
exactly.
indirect damage. That helps out. Stalkers are actually getting awfully close to the units in the middle of the map. There is an engagement between the Stalkers and the Cyclones. Neep not paying attention there.
Okay,
could have been worse.
Yeah, that was a little bit scary. Luckily, Blink was available, so not too bad. Another observer gets sniped. The Muslim very keen on that. So Neeb does push the Muslims back, and he takes his 3rd base, getting his forge now as well, but finding much difficulty getting his own aggressive position.
Man, the Muslim is playing so good. He got the scan there, again using high ground advantage. And if you take a look at the Stark account, I think it's safe to say that the Stark account is a lot higher than you normally want it to be in this phase in the game as a Protoss player. 11 Stalkers, like what are you going to do with 11 Stalkers? It's just a little bit uncomfortable. In a straight up fight, they're not going to be all that good, but it's also not enough to just straight up blink into the Terran natural. And the Muslim with that pretty fast 3rd CC, I think it's safe to say so far so good for the British Terran.
Yeah, I really liked how he played with that small group of units. As you said, keep on abusing the high ground and being able to pull back. So Neeb, I mean, in most situations against a Terran player, like a couple of Stalkers come out and more than 6, and they just got to pull back until they have Stim. But the Muslim bought a lot more time than that. So Stim is over halfway done. Combat Shield's also on the way. With that tank and enough Marines, doesn't matter if they have Stim or not, it's going to be able to push the Stalkers back.
Is that the 3rd Stalker that has died this game? It's 3 or 4 already. Oh, 2 actually.
Just 2.
Man, I felt we saw more Stalker corpses.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it just got really, really weak.
Right.
That charge is on the way pretty quickly here.
That's definitely number 3. Charge is a follow-up. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. I mean, I'm a very big fan of Charge myself. I think Charge and Stalkers work incredibly well together. The key for the Muslim is realizing that he goes up against Charge.
Right.
And then I think as a Terran player, you know, the best thing you can do is not attack too early. Like, Charge is very good in small army supplies. You know, anything up to 50, 60, 70 army supply. You know, if you can swarm the Terran army with a whole bunch of Zealots and you've got good upgrades, it can be incredibly powerful. However, the bigger the Terran army becomes, the more DPS there is into it, and then the Zealots will just run straight into their death.
Yeah.
So the Muslim needs to identify that he's playing against Charge.
Yeah, as well as getting that Wood of Mine production up and running, and he does have a reactive factory. So, of course, the question nowadays, besides the opener for Terran, is what type of Terran? Are they a more aggressive drop player, or do they go much quicker into the Liberator range, which is the way that the Muslim is playing? A lot more Terrans are playing like this.
I felt like everything has been going well for the Muslim, but now it's kind of important he doesn't overextend, because Neeb would love to get a fight going. As soon as he has like 14, 15 Zealots, he could just swarm around this army. Even if he has that 2nd Forge finishing up, he's setting up very strong defensively. I'm not sure if the Muslims saw all these Zealots. He's getting advanced ballistics, by the way, and this is a gnarly map to deal with advanced ballistics, because there is no Stargate at all whatsoever, and a couple of very good spots for Liberators. Wow.
unless Neeb is going to try and break him in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 minutes, Neeb will probably just have to realize that it is going to be a lot of Liberators and have to go up the Tempest, actually, or hope to find the Liberators out of position, but that's always so difficult. So the Muslims should feel pretty safe on 3 bases. Just get your units in position, get the Widow Mines covering the Liberators, and he shouldn't be broken.
No, absolutely not. I really don't think that. I think it's too late as well for any sort of charge Zealot bust. That's in general what you want to do after a successful early game. I don't feel this was the most successful early game for Neep. He's going to be able to drop a couple of Zealots here, but it's actually not that bad for the Muslim, because now at least he knows for sure that he's playing against a charge opening. The Zealots will be able to get a handful of SCVs, 6, 7, 8. That's actually pretty solid. But, I mean, it's still 4 or 5 Zealots as well. 9 SCVs is good, but the Muslim is still on 60 SCVs. You know, with triple OCC, it's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he already has a 4th CC on the way. He's definitely playing a certain style of Terran that is very defensive. It's fairly passive. I mean, this is going to be the first drop he's thinking of, basically past the early Cyclone aggression. And I do wonder, like, Neeb has had some trouble against mass Liberators in the past. Like, he has been too late to Tempest. I'm kind of getting the feeling.
I think this is going to be very hard for him. I mean, if the Muslim finds some sweet positions with his advanced ballistics, this is going to be so hard for Neeb. I mean, he's going to get a cancel. Actually, the Muslim is going to keep all the Liberators at home. He wants to fight straight up. Perhaps he can force a fight before Storm is done. A couple of Archons are being morphed now, but this is a terrifying Terran army to go up against.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm a little surprised that the Muslim pushes out before he's maxed out. He's also a little bit supply blocked, but I think he also wants to go ahead and get that 4th base down. He's also going to break the rocks. He scans ahead, sees not that much of the Protoss army is actually in position quite yet.
Wow. I think there's a lot of potential here for the UK and for the Muslim. Obviously, it will all come down to the Widowmine connection. It comes down to the engagement. It comes down to whether or not the Liberators are siege up in time. Here we go, but this Terran army looks quite powerful.
Yeah, the entire Protoss army wasn't here immediately, so even though the Liberators were a little bit late to the party, so was a lot of Neeb's army, and there's actually not enough Stalkers to take out the Liberators. There's actually no answer to this army right now.
There we go. There's a Liberator as well, picking away at a couple of these probes that were mining up that assimilated. The tank is not sieged up right now. The Liberators are a little bit late in sieging up, but still a couple of them will survive. The mines are not sieged up, but this Terran army is just too powerful, and the Muslim is going to clean up the majority of the units of Neeb here.
Yeah, Neeb just GG. It's actually game over right then and there. The Muslim takes it for the UK, and Neeb, I guess. I mean, we talked about his weaknesses, and of course talked about him like faltering after like a good Widowmine drop. That didn't happen. What happened was kind of just like Liberators, like that defensive build-up to mass Liberator style catches a lot of Protoss off guard, but usually it's while they're on their way to Tempest. Neeb didn't even start Stargate.
Now, I really think it has a lot to do with the excellent early game of the Muslim. That was honestly a fantastic game by Ben, and once again, he's just showing us that he's really in shape. I mean, if he plays like this in China, he actually has a very good shot, I think, in going far. Because the early game, it may look like not that much happened, but with the way that the Muslim moved his units around, the way he sniped the observers, the way he kept Neeb on 2 bases, and he forced out all those extra stalkers, he delayed everything else that Neeb would have liked to do by so much that it actually put him in an incredibly good position. That was as good as it's going to get for the Muslim against Neeb. Awesome performance by him.
It was, yeah, and I do like the emphasis on that early game, just pulling back, killing the observers, keeping that 3rd base even like a little bit late. Basically, Neeb did not get the game that he wanted, and when it came to the late game, he was not prepared. So that was just excellent. Of course, we anticipate the Muslim having to do the same thing again later, but first it's going to be the Muslim versus Puck, another Protoss player.
And even though the Muslim just played a phenomenal game against Neeb, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Muslim is the overwhelming favorite right now against Puck. Because Puck and Neeb, I think, are 2 completely different players. Obviously, Neeb is the more accomplished one and in general considered to be the better of the 2. But Puck has his own very unique style, which he is very good with again. And if you're not that familiar with it, or if you don't play a lot against that, it can be very hard to play against someone like Puck. I mean, Puck is also great. So
yeah, Puck is very different than Neeb. I really like that point. Of course, we have tweets coming at us, so hashtag NW4, but let's go to Muslim. Good cheer that actually got him through it. So hopefully he can continue that streak for those cheering for the UK. And I don't know, I guess for Puck, we have talked about him a little bit in the last series, and he just... To me, I do not know what he's like right now. 4 months ago, if you asked me, I even know his like personal thoughts on his experience and his ladder play. But right now, I have no idea what he's at.
Yeah, he's been streaming quite a bit.
Sure,
I mean,
yeah.
he has super high MMR on NA, but obviously that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have what it takes to shine in a Nation Wars as well. But I still think he's playing quite a bit. I think it's safe to say that the best Puck we saw was in the early stages of 2016, like April, May, June, back then when he had that phenomenal showing at the Gold Series International. I mean, back then Puck was in a group with, I believe it was Marine Lord, Snoot, and Major, and he won that group. And then he won against Scarlet in the semifinals, and even put up one hell of a fight against Harstem in the semifinals, where, of course, that was Harstem's very first big international victory. But there was that one clutch moment in Game 3, and the map was Larolac, by the way. That's the map that Serral was phenomenal on earlier as well. And it was one disruptor shot that could have changed the entire outcome of that tournament, because the way that Puck was playing back then, he was good enough to win the entire thing. I think if Puck would have made it to the final, there is a good chance that he would have won it all. Since then, it's been ups and downs, a little bit of a roller coaster the rest of the year for Puck, but yeah, this is still going to be very hard for the Muslim. There's absolutely no guarantee just because he beat Neep that he can beat Puck as well.
Yeah, I do feel very good for the Muslim, though, as you're talking about. Like, Puck just has kind of going a little bit downhill. Definitely in terms of, like, tournament results. There haven't been many tournaments. His last big one, I think, was Montreal, which he unfortunately only got to the round of 16, I want to say, and then got defeated by Scarlet.
Yep, 0-3, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, he had that whole point where he's just, he want to focus more on streaming, actually really enjoy streaming, and that's great. But, yes, he does do well on ladder. He's still playing very well. He's actually still a very good player, but it's about the competitive environment, which he's also just in the past also had some difficulty with, too, under that pressure. And I don't know how much, he might be feeling a little less pressure because there is Neeb to fall back on. You know, it's a team league as opposed to just like a 1v1 type deal. And that might help him, but I am very interested to see the style that he throws out. I'm hoping to see disruptor drops.
The Muslim tweeting in between the games as well. It's really nice to see Ben in such great spirits. He really seems to be having a lot of fun with the game lately. At the Home Story Cup as well, even though he didn't have the best showing this time, he was able to defeat Mana, by the way, so that's also kind of a testament to how solid his TVP is. But he was very cheesy in that series. I didn't see everything, but I know multiple games included one-base proxies. Wow, man, this is... we saved the best for last, and it could have been a huge anticlimax if Neeb would have just 4-kill, 4-0, all-killed, and would have all been over. But that's absolutely not the case here, as UK has taken the lead over the USA. Overgrowth is going to be our next map.
Okay, so pretty dang standard. 2 bases, and I don't know. Like, the Muslim could throw out Cheese you brought up earlier. I think that Cheese has been effective versus Protoss, especially the new tank. But I think more likely, especially on Overgrowth, it's going to be those 2 base tank pushes, sometimes 2 tanks, sometimes 3, on that 3rd base. And I think Puck actually might be stylistically okay against that, actually, because he does a lot of 2-base disruptor drops. He gets that pressure pretty early, and he gets disruptors, not Colossus, not mass gateway units. It can be a very different style to go up against.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting style of clashes. The more I think about it, the more excited I am about this matchup between Puck and the Muslim. Now, the only one small difference that can be that in general, whenever you play a lot of NA ladder, now even though NA has a couple of solid Terrans, there are very few out there that will hit timings as sharp and as clean as the Muslim. I mean, obviously, a Major, or someone like that, and then a Kalazur to some degree, but I personally think that the Muslim's TVP is a little better than Kalazur's TVP. So yes, I mean, Puck definitely has what it takes to deal with it, but at the same time, how often does he go up against players like the Muslim who will execute builds? And Ben also often gives like his own subtle touches to his builds. I mean, the way he plays against Zerg has always been a little bit different than most of the other Terrans, where instead of like relying on the first 60 Marines, he has a later push with +1 and combat shield. So we'll see. Overgrowth is going to be our next map. If the Muslim is able to take a 3-1 lead here for the UK, then things are starting to look a little dicey for USA.
I don't know. Like, I think Neeb is, after playing the Muslim, getting a feel for his style, probably looks better when he's revived, and I'm guessing he's revived.
But then there's also more pressure, and
well, yeah, that's true. And Neeb has crumbled before, but I don't know. I think that the Muslim and the way that he plays might just be a little too much for the Terrans, for the Protosses, sorry. But I don't know. The Muslim wins, Neeb wins. Actually, I'm pretty happy both. I know I'm supposed to be like really biased for the USA, but I'm actually super excited to Muslims like super back in form. Like, he used to be one of my favorite Terrans back in the day. He was one of the first Terrans that I watched like pretty religiously when I switched to Terran like 4 years ago. So I'd be pretty excited.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I mean, earlier today we saw Cass have a great showing, even though that was against Russia, and a couple of the Russians, they didn't look like Russia was once upon a time with Happy or maybe a Strange right now. But it's still awesome to see Cass, a very prominent 2010 Terran, and the Muslim as well. I mean, sometimes people forget, but the Muslim has been around since day one of the beta. The very first go for StarCraft 2 is, the second one. I believe the Muslim was in the final, and go for StarCraft 2 number 3 in the beta. He already won, so that's how long this man has been around.
That is a long time. Well, in game number 4, in the bottom left, as the blue Terran for the UK, he is the Muslim.
Now here on the right top side, looking in the main base of our American Protoss player, it's the one and only Puck.
All right, so I've been mentioning the 2-base disruptor drop. That has been a way that Puck has liked playing for a while. I think he started doing it in the beginning of Legacy of the Void. People weren't quite sure what to do with the disruptor, and he managed to keep it with him for the past year and a half, since Legacy of the Void has been active. So that's what I anticipate. That I also think is going to be a good maneuver after watching Neeb's solid Protoss style fail, is do something a little bit different.
Overgrowth is not one of the larger maps out there. I actually think that the Muslim is quite okay playing on this map. I think in the previous map pool we saw the Muslim have a lot of success on a map like Frozen Temple. Now obviously Overgrowth is a little bit longer than Frozen Temple, but I think a lot of those sharp timings that would work on a map like Frozen Temple, maybe to some degree the Muslim can make that work on Overgrowth as well.
Yeah, I really do anticipate the Muslim moving up towards that push on the third base. A couple of Protosses have been trying to take the other third base, the one in the middle there, to kind of counteract that because they've been so fearful of the tank pushes, but that's like few and far in between. Usually the better response is just to anticipate it and not be too greedy with your build, with your third base.
Reaper is out, Factory being thrown down, second gas taken now as well. We saw in the previous game the Muslim could have settled for a probe kill, but instead of getting a probe kill he rather got the scout off. And in the end there was actually a beta default and overcharge as well, which wasn't that useful because he didn't follow it up with a mine drop, but
yeah,
it's still something that maybe he could use.
Oh, actually pretty paranoid about the proxy Stargate, very common location for it. I mean, generally there's not much else your Reaper's going to scout if you assume they're going to take a Nexus, which I think Puck is almost always going to do a 2-base build. So sure, the Reaper comes in later, but usually guarantees at least one scout unless there's a very cheeky pylon on the high ground, which Puck has not thrown down.
Yeah, the Void Rays are back in fashion. We saw SOS use them, and
yeah.
I mean, what the next thing we know, Maximus Black comes back, makes it onto Team USA next year. Why not?
Isn't he Canadian?
Oh, damn it, yes. Nova Scotia, something. That's where he lives.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. Oh well, there's always room on the Canadian team.
Sure. Place no regret.
Oh,
why not?
Poor Jake.
Yeah.
All right, robotics facility being warped in for Puck. Our scoreboard is wrong, by the way, guys, just to make sure if you guys just joined us and wondering what on earth are we watching, it's the UK that's leading, it's not the Muslim. Or it's not the US.
Yeah. So the Muslim is going to be going for a Widow Mine drop. That's earlier Cyclone pressure last game. It was cool. He did it very, very well, but maybe that was to abuse more of Echo's like hills, up, down, up, down. Echo definitely a flatter map here, so Widow Mine drop, I mean, it's going to be able to scout. It still might be able to do a bit of pressure. I know, Thermal, for instance, really likes to just continue the drop pressure, gets a second medevac, even a third medevac sometimes. Most other Terrans do just go into tank production and bio, which is what the Muslim's doing.
Pretty fast robotics Vader. Now, most Protoss players would say like, it's probably going to be Colossus, but with Puck, there's a very good chance that it's going to be something else. The Muslim are going to drop one mine, and that's kind of nice. Could potentially delay this base. I think the Muslim did a phenomenal job in the previous game in denying. Wow, there's no pylon there. Two Stalkers actually don't have enough DPS, and I believe one of the units is out of position for Puck. So this Widow Mine drop could do quite a bit of damage. Where are the pylons?
Yeah, that's kind of weird to see a pylon back there. Of course, the Liberator follow-up's usually the expected response too, so a pylon should be coming down. Actually goes back into the natural. That's a mistake. He's just going to lose a medevac. Oh my god. Okay, well I think he should have lost the medevac.
He gets his shot there as well.
Yeah. Okay, so if he had lost the medevac, that would have been just a completely reversal. It would have actually been a failure for the Muslim, but since he just barely saved it, it's not so bad. So the Widow Mines do not get that many shots off. Puck is now going to try and return the favor, as we do have War Prism speed on the way and disruptors.
And that's of course where we know that Puck excels. He's one of the very, very best when it comes to disruptor play, when it comes to warp prism speed. I think that's actually the way that Puck made a name for himself a long, long time ago. Beginning of Heart of the Swarm, end of Legacy of the Void, he was the guy that was doing all the funky Colossus drops, as he wasn't really a top player yet, but he was a streamer and he was somebody that was very entertaining to watch. And eventually, obviously, Puck took his gameplay to the next level, and he realized that he can't just do it on ladder, but he can actually do it in tournaments as well and win money.
I forgot about the Colossus drops, but yeah. So the one, of course, absolute fear, is that the Disruptor is pretty expensive. You did go 2 bases to get to it first and foremost. And the Warp Prism is also something that you do not want to lose. If there's a Widow Mine well positioned, it can actually ruin Puck's day, but there's nothing here at all. And the SCVs are going to get hit here. 6 go down immediately, and the Disruptor gets out of there.
Yeah, that's a very nice hit there. The Muslim had absolutely no vision on the left up side of his base, so it was hard to react to it in time. He's going to drop 1 missile turret, but that's not necessarily going to keep this base safe. He's going to throw up a second turret as well. Third Nexus, however, is quite late for Puck.
Yeah, I think that is the consequence of his build, but it feels even a little bit later than usual, past 6 minutes here, and he has enough minerals to get it right now. Still building probes and pylons. Disruptor might get another good shot. So far, it hasn't gotten like absolutely beautiful. Oh, okay, so he's paying attention. This is if this happens, and DeMuslim's on his way to Stim right now, almost finished. And he has Medivacs, and he kills that Disruptor. That's actually just an instant counterattack and a very hard defense for Puck.
The Muslim is going very high on the Liberators already. I mean, it's hard to attack it. Wow, that's actually a very risky move, I think, by Puck. He will be able to get 6 more SCVs, but will he be able to get away with the Warp Prism? No, he does not.
Okay, so this is where it's actually timing out very well for the Muslim. He could try and push forward with his units. I mean, maybe brings the tank, maybe he doesn't. Actually, he will bring the tanks. Now you have to worry about the Disruptor, but you have to worry about the Warp Prism either. Like that should be able to pull him back once, but no longer.
What I do like, though, is that Puck is immediately moving out, and that's going to make it a lot harder for the Muslim to attack into him, because he's going to be able to kite back with these Villain Stalkers soon, and he's going to be able to land a couple of Disruptor shots too, and this is so scary as a Terror player. The Muslim has to be very careful. He's kind of running into this army, but now Puck has to be very careful too. Blink was not ready yet.
Okay, I think I knew what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to bait the Stim forward, but it didn't really work out that way. He just lost Stalkers almost for nothing. He should have been able to maybe get the Liberator if it was too far forward, maybe get a tank if they don't siege, but now he's going to position on his third base. I don't think he can keep that.
No, suddenly these Disruptors are pretty exposed as well. They're not that good. Is he going to try to force some sort of base trade here? He's shooting at his own Stalker. They actually killed his own Stalker. That's not the first time we've seen it. So much mutiny today.
Oh, God. I know there's no way that third base is going to be saved. Cancel it, but I also don't think there's any way that Puck will be able to win a base trade. Disruptors are so dangerous to use in a base trade. They have 2 shots, and then you're done for quite some time.
We all know that #1 rule, right? Never base trade the Terran, but Puck is going to try to do it. He's going to end up losing quite a few Stalkers before he even gets a kill on this Liberator. One of the supply depots will finally fall, but the army supplies are heavily in favor of our British Terran. It's 73 against 44. The Muslim should probably almost have enough units to actually clean this up. Obviously not if he runs into a disruptive shot, but he's going to go for it. Let's take a look at the natural of Puck, as one of these disruptors got picked up as well. Both an overcharge is good, but it ain't that good.
Yeah, I don't think... I just don't think that Puck actually has enough. He doesn't get that hit with the Disruptor there. He's going to lose his natural now too. I think what he was thinking for a base trade was that the Muslim would stim forward into a Disruptor, and that's when he gets like 20 kills instantly. But that hasn't happened. The Muslim just stayed on his side of the map and bulked up his reinforcements.
The Muslim has made very, very, very few mistakes, I think, in both games that we've seen so far. You could say that maybe he didn't pull SCVs quickly enough against that very first Disruptor drop, but that's pretty much the only mistake he's made in these previous 2 games. He's playing like an absolute madman. He's going to stim forward, hit this Disruptor, up this shot, may connect with something. No, not either. Good dodge there by the Muslim. Tanks are wailing away at these Stalkers, and I think we're looking at a 3-1 advantage for the United Kingdom.
I think we are. Neeb's going to have to come back with a vengeance in that final game. The Muslim, he might get broken on the offensive here, but he did lift his natural. He saved most of his SCVs. Getting that production back up is not going to take too long, and his reinforcements are a good enough army too, especially if he can save the Medivacs.
Yep, this army is kind of trapped. It would be awesome if he can get a couple of units out. That these Disruptors are misrallied, and one of them falls. The other one survives with 1 HP, I believe that is. Yes, it is.
That's going to be sniped immediately. The Warp Prism could try and save it, but even the Warp Prism might get sniped here.
The Muslim smells blood as he wants to go for it. There's just a couple of Stalkers. That's not enough to protect that one Disruptor, as this Nexus is very, very exposed as well. There is so much Terran here. GG! The Muslim, playing like an absolute madman, takes a 3-1 lead for Great Britain, England, the UK, however you want to call it. And he is playing fantastic.
He is playing fantastic. I'd actually be very scared for the USA now as they have basically Neve. I doubt Nathaniel's going to come out for a TVT. So Neve has got to fix his mistakes from that first game, which I think he can do. But then, of course, the Muslim can also be revived.
Yeah, and the Muslim just showed us a completely different build order as well in the second TVP that he played, showing us that he's not a one-trick pony. Wow, I mean, what a series this has been so far. What a nation-wise it's been. The Muslim basically right now on a 6-0 streak when it comes to competitive matches being streamed. I mean, yesterday taking out Azur, taking out Panda BME, and right now taking out Neeb, taking out Puck. Absolutely awesome performance by him. Yeah,
really, really good showing by the Muslim. And I think he can, I do have faith that he can take on Neeb, but I also think Neeb could take him on. But it's going to turn into one of those classics, as Funkus says, like a best of three, where I think definitely the Muslim would be the guy revived. After Risky is the other United Kingdom player that we haven't seen yet. He's a Zerg player.
And he can basically just do whatever he wants, right? I mean, all they need is 1 point. So he can do the absolute craziest thing he's ever thought of. And Neve is going to have to play very careful. I mean, we are assuming that it's going to be Neve. I mean, if you have the Casper Cup champion on your team, you better revive him.
Yeah, again, Nathaniel, I don't think, especially because it is a TVT. Maybe it was like TVP, like, no, really, send me out. But no, not TVT. And then Puck, of course, not able to showcase anything too exciting with his different play style. Because that's when we were really, like, looking forward to. It's just like how different can he be and how much can that throw the Muslim off.
That's just a great screenshot, Emil. I love you too. I can't wait for the next Home Story Cup. I'm going to lurk from the shadows for 4 days, and eventually you're going to make a very funny face as well, and I'll be there.
Yeah. I like that he has to point, by the way. Like, he looks his guy, but he's like right there.
All right. Well, we're just waiting right now for the announcement of the final player of Team USA, who is going to be revived. And after that, as always, we're going to head to a very small break. And then we're going to close it out. It's been a very long day. I think we saw a lot of great Starcraft today. Of course, tomorrow we'll be back already with some group stage play. We're going to do the GSL group format thing. I'm not sure if we actually do the group drawing tonight. Or
I think so. That's what we've been told.
Oh, really? Who's going to do it?
Apparently one of the people in the studio.
Okay, one of the gaming staff. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I don't have to do it. I'm not very good with drawings.
Yeah, apparently it's super pressure. I don't know. I've only ever done it through like a hat, like on a webcam. It's not that much pressure.
All right. Well, we are... I would like to say normally this is a very tense moment, but I just cannot imagine that it's anybody else but Neep. Unless Neep just has a mental breakdown and says no.
No, I can't do it.
No, I just don't want to play. I cannot carry all this pressure on my shoulders.
I don't know if he's ever going to be that stressed out, but maybe he just went to like the bathroom and they're trying to get the confirmation. Like, are you actually here? He didn't bounce, right? Because I don't know what else they'd be waiting for. I mean, Nathanius could be making the most desperate pitch ever. Like, I have an awesome proxy Thor build. It's going to work, believe me. Or
I think there's many other things in the world that Nate would rather do than play TVT against a Muslim. Like you said, if it was something else, then maybe Nate could convince them to, carry the pride of USA. Like, Puck is an option, but... with the way that the Muslim is playing currently, I don't see any other choice than Neep.
Yeah, and that wasn't really that close of a game to be like, well, he could do the same style and maybe do something, because I actually think that was just really well controlled by the Muslim. So I think this has been the way it's been for some time, if I'm not mistaken. I've only gotten glances at this poll, but it's just been very close, but Great Britain slightly in the lead, which makes sense, especially after the Muslim showing.
I mean, England doesn't have like the biggest scene when it comes to StarCraft, but they do have a very fanatic scene. There is a whole bunch of guys that travels every time from England to Krefeld to have a blast at Home Story Cup. They show up there, 10, 15 guys. They all wear their Great Britain t-shirts, and they just basically have the time of their life. Call themselves the Banter Boys, or at least that's how the Muslim called them. So they've got a very cool little scene, and I'm sure that all those guys are losing their mind right now because it is so close. And this actually seems like a very solid team. I mean, Thibault played fantastic as well. It's absolutely not a default loss, even if they would make it to the group stage by any means.
Yeah.
So...
if the Muslim wasn't feeling too well, if he actually didn't, look that good, I would not have thought that Thibault being the revive option would have been that bad. But the Muslim, looking as good as he is, even if he does take a loss here, I guess it's going to be very hard fought. And it is actually going to be Neeb, and he probably be the revive. But Also depending on the map, again, I think that the Muslim could just have a good showing. I think we'll play the same, almost no matter what the map is. Like more, I don't know about the opener, but that is to say like the faster Liberators and a lot of Liberators, because I guess that has been Neeb's problem for some time. It was a problem like 8 months ago, and apparently it's still a problem here. As you said, it had a lot to do with that opener and just how much like pressure he was applying to Neeb and Neeb not getting in the place that he wanted to be. But also just in general, we'll have tons of Protosses fumble towards that like 9, 10, 11 Liberator count. Just not know how to do it against it.
Alrighty, we're going to head to our very small last break of the day, and then we'll be back with the conclusion. Or, well, maybe we'll have 3 more games between the UK and USA. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to StarCraft 2 Nation Wars 4. The qualifiers are on the way, or at least they're almost done. But the last match has proven to be a thriller so far.
Yep.
As we are getting ready for the rematch between Neeb and the Muslim. Can the Muslim continue his streak of online victories, or will the real Casper Cup champion stand up?
I think Neeb has a shot, but the Muslim's probably feeling on cloud 9 right now. His momentum's really good. He has the confidence of already having beaten Neeb. I think it can absolutely happen. For Neeb, I would not be too surprised if he had to change up styles. Like, he was legitimately afraid of getting to the late game against those mass Liberators. Again, maybe he goes for Stargates a little bit faster and he actually fixes that problem, but I also think that, it's time for him to add on that little bit of aggression.
The map is going to be Whirlwind. That's obviously a very large map, and I think that makes it a lot harder for the Muslim to execute the same type of build, the one with the Cyclones, where he just applied so much pressure, and he forced Neeb to open up with so many Stalkers. I mean, 11 Blink Stalkers when, there's not really any real transition on the way yet. That's a lot. I mean, the only thing you can normally say if you open up with 11 Stalkers is if you Chrono Boost out charge immediately and stay on like 3 gas, like a very low gas, and just go for an explosion of gateways. But that was obviously never Neeb's plan. So the Muslim had a great build and great execution, but it's going to have to be something different here on Whirlwind.
Yep. Well, potentially the last game of the series in the bottom left for Great Britain. He is the blue Terran, the Muslim.
Already switching things up, going for a command center first on this very large map. Over here on the right top side, carrying the hopes and dreams of USA on his shoulders. It's the one and only Neeb.
Yes, he is. So I kind of was, I was going to guess if he hadn't gotten in the game that the Muslim might even go for like even a quick third CC on Whirlwind, but the command center first is also not too much of a surprise into maybe a more high-powered 2-base push later on, but it's also Cross, so we talked about Whirlwind already being big enough, but Cross, which especially, he's not going to be able to do that same pressure. Certainly no tank pushes.
No.
I would actually say like no tanks whatsoever. He might go a bit more drop heavy. Whirlwind can be difficult to defend that third base when they're dropping in the natural and the main as well.
That's of course very old school, the Muslim. I mean, he was known for his crazy multi-prong back in the days. Called him the Devil Terran when he was really feeling it and he was dropping everywhere at once. I think you're very spot on. I think this is just going to be very, very bio-heavy from the Muslim and not too much of anything else. Maybe a couple of mines early on just to try to secure himself some sort of position, but none of the slower units early on. No Cyclones, no tanks. Whirlwind is just not really the map for it. I mean, unless he wants to take it super slow and steady, and instead of going for that cool 2 or 3 max tanks, he's actually going to go up to 6 or 7 tanks, but then it's going to have to be a super slow-paced game. And in general, I feel that doesn't suit the Muslim. The Muslim is an exciting, aggressive Terran player that likes to have units out on the map.
I remember watching a couple of his more passive games and just being like, just feeling something was wrong, and I think he felt it too. And he would usually lose those, right? So, I mean, that first game with the Cyclone pressure was so cool. This time it's going to be probably drop pressure, not Cyclone pressure. He's already on his way up to a factory. But it's, Whirlwind just in general. So we talked about tanks, for the early game and mid game, probably not going to go there. But the Liberator thing that was so scary for a Neeb that he died to in the late game and he has died to in the past might not be as much of a problem on Whirlwind, where you have this big open center that you can actually take it on with a concave, catch him out of position on the way to your base. The only like complication for Whirlwind, besides the drop potential of the 3 bases in that triangle, is that sometimes base trades can be so common here. And if Neeb starts to get flustered because he's just getting dropped everywhere and goes for the base trade, I don't think it'll work out that well.
Yeah, I often feel that 3 bases is not very difficult here as a Protoss, even though you need the right amount of units to split across all 3 bases. But the moment you go up to 4, it suddenly feels like Terran units will just drop from every direction and they will run in from multiple directions as well. Neeb is going to scout here with his Adept, and maybe at the amount of Marines he had a good idea of what he was actually going up against. Because I don't think he scouted early on with the probe, correct? That was his first scout?
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, I think that the Marine count might have told him there was that barracks build, so not a Widowmine drop. And of course the timing when the Widowmine drop will also pass and he'll know exactly.
This is a very fast robotics facility opening, which actually, we're actually getting a very early Prism here as well. He wouldn't go for a disruptor.
I don't think it's disruptors. I think it might just be some light adept harassment with that faster Colossus. So he's changing up his own style. Of course, that first game played a lot of gateway units, too many Link Stalkers, in fact.
That could actually technically play out quite well for the Muslim, because this means very late Twilight Council, and defending multiple bases at once if you don't have Blink becomes a little more complicated. And obviously Colossus is very good against Marines, but if the Marines can avoid the Colossus, once again, if the Muslim is able to keep Neeb on 2 bases for as long as he was in the previous game, he's going to have a ball.
Yeah, I'm really, because, well, okay, so, yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, this is just going to be so difficult to defend against drops. If Neeb is the one dropping the Muslim, though, and keeping him back home, that's exactly what he wants from the Warp Prism. But I'm worried the timing's too off for Neeb. I mean, the Muslim going for the command center first actually gets these, like, medevacs already going across the map with 16 Marines in them. And Neeb, he's going to be pushing in now with the Warp Prism, but there's already some reinforcements.
If those Marines get dropped into the main base, it's actually very, very risky. Neeb doesn't have a lot of units at home at all. Of course, the Muslim doesn't have a lot of units over here either, so there's a very good chance that this game gets very scrappy. The Muslim was looking for a cancer at the turret, but there is no turret, so what is he going to do instead? He's going to end up losing a lot of SCVs over here at home, but how much damage will the Muslim be able to do? If he would have just dropped into the main, that would have been so massive.
Yeah, I think that actually would have been so good. He stims in past the pylon, but that actually might not be enough Marines. They're still getting kind of shot at as well.
Where's that Colossus?
The Warp isn't doing too much damage. The Colossus is almost out here.
Oh, this is actually very good, I think, because the robotics facility is in the natural, which means that the Colossus is going to be a little bit late to the party. And one medevac falls, the other one lives. That's 9 workers. Look at the worker count, 44 against 36. That's great.
That's really, really nice. So that move into the main base ended up being pretty good. I mean, any amount of time with Marines in the main, the mineral line is going to result in a lot of lost probes. But more importantly, Neeb was unable to continue his pressure with the Warp Prism. I mean, he wasn't warping in with the Warp Prism, he wasn't controlling them as well. So a couple of SCV pulls and a Marauder reinforcements, that was enough. And now that Neeb, or the Muslim, has reinforcements, you shouldn't have to worry about a Warp Prism harassment anymore.
And once again, it's going to be incredibly difficult, I think, for Neeb to go up to 3 bases now without a Twilight Council, without fast-moving units. Wow, that Warp Prism is starting to take a lot of damage. Is Neeb gearing up for some sort of a 2-base push? No.
That would be really weird, especially on a big map like Whirlwind. I mean, I know a lot of times when they have 2 Colossus in a decent, like, you know, army size on the ground, they can kind of take control of the map. But I don't know, the concaves are going to be divided if the Muslim sees that. Okay, well, that was a freebie. Still going to save the Marines. I mean, it looks like he's trying to prep for that 3rd base. He's doing a probe over there. That might have just been a fake.
Yeah, I really think it is a fake. I think that the Neeb is gearing up for a massive 2-base attack. This is super old school. We're watching MC in 2011.
Right?
The Muslim needs to identify this. If he can just get a couple of maybe Widow Mines, a couple of Vikings, I think would be great. He has plenty of medevacs. So if the Muslim would only know what we know, he doesn't have to move out at all, but I don't think the Muslim is identifying. Oh my god, the units are out of position now as well.
I think he was trying to get that concave. He didn't want to be stuck in the main base, but I don't think that was actually the right move. He doesn't have quite enough units. The Adepts soak up a lot of shots. The Colossus aren't dying, and that's just it to Muslim. GG's.
Wow. Neeb able to secure victory there. Whirlwind cross-map, Whirlwind 2-base Colossus push.
Yeah, I guess it works. I mean, the Muslim was at this point where his production was really only just kicking in for the last minute. He had just added on his extra barracks and the tech labs for him, too. So he wasn't quite at, like, 5 racks complete production for long enough to really have that huge bio to take that concave.
But if he identifies that, if he knew how that Neeb wouldn't go up to 3 bases and Neeb was actually gearing up for that massive tech, you throw up a bunker or 2 behind your supply depots, you start repairing it, and you just buy time with that 3rd CC about to finish up. like you can't really transition out of that as a Protoss anymore. When you don't really have a Forge, when you don't have a Twilight console, it's going to be incredibly hard. It's all or nothing at that point.
Yeah.
Very risky move by Neeb, but it paid off, which means that, well, talking about...
Yeah, we're talking about Risky.
I did not even do that on purpose, but that means that Risky is going to be up next for Great Britain, which is on the... sheet, it says it's a Zerg player. For some reason, I always thought Risky was a Protoss, but I must be confusing him maybe with another Risky, but unless the sheet is wrong, that's...
I guess it's possible. But yeah, if it's a Zerg player, if he really is a Zerg player, then as you were talking about before this last game, he could probably just do anything.
Yeah.
If he lives up to his name and does risky builds, Neeb has had some trouble against players like Bly, sometimes even Scarlet when she goes for the proxy hatcheries. That would be very map dependent, though, and very like player dependent if they actually want to go for that. But it's something you could throw out and just have the Muslim in the back pocket, like studying, realizing his mistakes from last game, and just, anticipating maybe something more aggressive next time from Neeb.
Well, that's absolutely one of these games where if you take a look at the replay and you would resume from replay, there's a very good chance that the Muslim wins that game 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
After killing 7-8 workers early on. All he had to do was identify what he was up against. But that's the pass right now. Let's see how Risky will do against Neeb. Great Britain still in the lead, 3-2. We haven't seen Habitation Station yet.
Oh, hey, there you go. Perfect call.
Well,
All right.
It's a map with a gold base. So if Risky is indeed a Zerg player, there's a good chance that we'll see some weird shenanigans. There's a lot of weird builds possible on Habitation, but then again, Neeb is such a world-class Protoss, and in general he's able to sniff weird stuff out very, very quickly.
And plus, those times where he's losing to Blind Scarlet a lot are kind of in the past. I think living with Scarlet and like training and practicing with her really helped against those specific builds. But just in general, I think it's kind of the past that Protosses were dying to all-ins and cheeses from Zerg. That was like every single ZVP for months for a time. Roach Ravager or these weird proxy hatcheries. That's usually over and done with.
Yeah, unless you're Chem. Chem still gets away with it.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Chem builds, instead of 1 proxy hatch outside of your main, he builds 3 inside of your main.
Oh, okay.
At a certain point, all your probes are attacking buildings, so you're not mining anymore. You're like, damn it, Chem, I hate you. I really think that Mexico, I mentioned earlier today, but I think Mexico has such a good team that they can actually go very, very far. Jim Rising could be considered maybe the weaker of the 3, but Chem and Major together. I think Chem is very underrated when it comes to the European scene. And I think he absolutely has what it takes to take maps of almost anybody in this tournament.
Yeah, that was one of the off-stream
Yeah, they won 4-1 against Peru. Peru, of course, represented by MYS Smile, a strong Terran player. He was able to get 1 point on the board. Yeah, Chem and Major, that's a pretty deadly duo.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. Risky, I do not know much about him. I think he's Zerg, but again, that sheet might be wrong. I'm kind of hoping that he does do something a little bit odd, because I don't think Neeb... I guess Neeb has had some trouble in the past against Protoss, but I think that mostly when it comes to macro games, his macro and his micro 2 on point in the matchup, so I'm kind of hoping for something risky.
All right, here we go. Habitation Station. The score is 3-2 in favor of Great Britain. And can this man complete the upset? He's spawning on the right top side, representing the UK. It is Risky.
In the top left, as the red Protoss for the USA, he is Neeb.
Habitation Station PVZ can get very dicey, I think. There are multiple openings that can be quite hard, especially if it's full before hatch. From that point on, you basically have to be on full alert already. That's not going to be the case, so he's actually... Okay, it's a little weird. It's a little different, but...
Yeah, for a time, a lot of Zerg players are doing this just right off the bat, but... a little bit weird. Hoping to catch maybe Neeb a little off guard too. You would check that, and then would check the gold base, which is a possibility on Habitation Station. But it's going to be a macro game, then I do think Neeb shall take it. Of course, as I said in the break, maybe the Muslim is just looking through that game. He probably did immediately go into that replay and say, what exactly happened, and what can I do to make sure it doesn't happen again? Because I'm going to assume he's going to be the revive player. Not quite certain what map we haven't played on yet with this gun, but
Fani, right?
You might be right. It has so many games today. Oh, thank you. Oh, Kevin, our observer.
Of course, big shout out to our observer, Kevin. He has observed Home Story Cup 14, and he's back now for the entirety of Nation Wars. very long days for him, as we are as casters are able to rotate a little bit in and out, but he has to do 7 best of 7s by himself, and that's when observing actually becomes incredibly difficult. Because when you have to listen to us for 7 best of 7s, everybody goes a little crazy.
Big props to Kevin. Thank you so much. So it is going to be Van Eyck for the final map, whatever the players are going to be. The 4 Lings are on the way just to get a little bit of scouting done. We actually had a couple of drones transfer from the Gas Geyser, funnily enough, to that 3rd base, but everything's looking normal.
It's hard to predict what Neep wants to do. We know that Neep is a very big fan of the Dark Templar opening, obviously, but I don't think this is the greatest map for it, and it seems like he is agreeing. This kind of leans towards a Resonating Glaives opening. We saw Drogo bust it out earlier, and I'm happy, because I'm getting really sad that people pretend that the Resonating Glaives opening is dead. No, it's not dead at all. I mean, obviously it's not as good as it used to be, but it's still a very solid opening where you will always be able to force out a lot of units. You have to be a lot more careful than in the past, but I still think it's a strong build.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan of anything that isn't the Dark Shrine build, just because it is going to be like 90% of the games in PvZ, especially when it comes to the Koreans for some reason too. But yeah, the Resonating Glaives is on the way now, and Risky will hopefully be able to scout this too. I don't think he's gotten any scouting quite yet. He doesn't have overload speed on the way either. Trying to save his drones.
Very good reaction time there. Did not lose a single drone. The other day we were casting a game Intox from us at Gyeonggi, and I believe New York lost like 4 drones against 1 Adept of Siege Entered Hero. No. That's I was like, okay, my adepts are never able to do this. So.
Yeah. I think we have the Overlord now trying to suicide in. I mean, there's not much to take it down, so it should eventually get that scout. I'm sure it's a suicide Overlord at this point. There's actually nothing to kill it, but still, even if you scout, even if you know the Resonating Glaive adepts are on the way, if they get into the mineral lines, they're almost guaranteed to kill like 4 drones per, even if you have like really good defenses. I mean, it's very rare for them to do actually no damage whatsoever. Occasionally, they're caught in the middle of the map by a very well-prepared Zerg, but usually they're ready to take it. So he's going to be getting speed as well as Roachmore, and I think the combo of the 2 units is the best, most guaranteed way to defend. Banelings can help too, but more often we see good splits from Protoss players, and Banelings aren't very effective.
Roachhorn is a tiny bit late though, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful. I must say that Neep played pretty greedy on this game. Yes, he's been scouting a lot, but that Mothership Core is very late, so obviously he has a very good economy. We can see that being reflected in the work account. They're dead even at this point, but these adepts will force out more and more Zerg units. Will the Roaches be in time, and will he be able to split them properly over all the bases? I mean, this is a very respectable amount of adepts. He's going to be able to position them on the ramp. This is very old school Neep. He did this pretty much every single game on Frozen Temple and always got a lot of damage done with it.
I'm a little surprised he didn't spread his adepts to one base or another. I mean, all in one. It does get the Queen immediately, and now the drone's being pulled back to mining. Might start dying here, but the Roaches are on the way out. They should be coming. There we go. More Lings too. Only 2 drones so far.
I like it. I think otherwise if you split them up, it's going to be quite easy for just a couple of Lings to get the wraparound, and like 8 Lings and the Queen will take care of it. In the end, these adepts do fall. Excellent defense, actually. By Risky, man, he did that phenomenal. Somehow ended up only losing 2 drones. Neep is going to follow this up with a Dark Shrine. That's a little different than the way we normally see it, and Warp Prism is out as well. It's going to be hard for Neep to go up to 3 bases now, by the way, because he lost so many of his adepts, and he didn't get that much done. Then how is he supposed to secure his 3rd base?
Exactly. Like, this is like the huge worry. I think like spreading up the adepts too might just be able to buy like maybe a bit more time. He's trying to warp in just to keep the Lings from flooding into his natural, which isn't quite working. Finally, the Blood Troops comes back into position. That's going to scare him away.
Okay. The Adepts on the other side of the map actually able to find a lot more damage this time, as a lot of drones will fall. This has been an excellent follow-up for Neep. But these Lings could potentially force a counter on this Nexus. I absolutely see no reason why not. The Adepts are going to try to save the day. He's going to go for the Pylon instead. I would have loved to see him just jump on that Nexus.
Yeah, I mean, if you kill the Pylon and then the Adepts, that's, you know, fantastic, but not quite enough Lings to do that.
30 Lings, so actually he's just going to follow it up with the next attack, so it makes sense that he wants to go for it. But now 4 Dark Templars are being wiped in, and I'm not sure if there's any detection at all. The layer is incredibly late. And then, oh my god, he's morphing them into Archons. It was defensive.
It was defensive, and oh my god, the Immortal comes out too, and the Adepts go down, the Immortal goes down. Are there any more Ling reinforcements right now? It doesn't look like it.
He lost the Warp Prism, I think, right? Oh my god, he did lose the Prism.
Wow. Okay, so I guess on the other side of the map wasn't going too well for Neep, and Risky looks actually in a pretty damn good position. He's now getting a better drone count too. That's actually been the point where he's going to stuck at. Neep did save his 3rd base though. That actually never went down. It was able to complete, almost complete right now, and he's getting his production too. He can start more harassment with a 2nd Warp Prism. Kind of sucks he had to remake it, but if you have the time and the minerals, then it's It's okay. It is only minerals.
And there were spores as well, by the way, as Kevin showed us, and didn't exactly see when he was able to throw these up. So now we're going to still have some Archon arrest in a much later phase in the game. Has to be a little bit careful, as that Prism has already taken quite a bit of damage. He will be able to pick off a Queen, though.
Yeah. Things have calmed down. I mean, Neeb was looking quite scared against those 40 Lings, but it's calmed down. He's got a third base up and running, probably pretty secured for the moment, too. Risky taking the gold base, I like. I think he's actually has a lot of momentum, a lot of presence on the map, too.
I felt that the Archons would have been able to force a cancel on this
I think
board.
they would have it immediately gotten there, but now it's going to have a bit of health, so he should be able to defend it.
3 Queens here. Well, Transfuse actually on the wrong Queen, but at least keeps that one alive, and it's super healthy. Neeb's going to warp in a lot of Adepts. So it's Adept Immortals of 49 probes, of course, with the 2 Archons in the mix as well. Baneling Nest is finishing up. The link count is high. There's a decent amount of Ravages, but I'm not sure if Risky is aware of this attack coming. If he's able to get the Prism, that would be absolutely massive, but that's obviously going to be very hard. He needs to get all of his Queens here as quickly as possible.
Oh, those sentries would have been a nice night with the Corrosive Bile. I guess the gold base is going to be forfeit. I mean, it might finish, but it's not going to be drone anytime soon. And Neeb does have an army supply here. I don't think Risky was anticipating this fast, and if they get enough units fast enough, 20 Banelings right now could do wonders, but it's just too late.
Yeah, I mean, he has a couple of Roaches, but it's starting to look quite grim for our British Zerg, as these Adepts are just moving in. Queens start falling as well. The Corrosive Biles have pretty much been dodged all along. One sentry will finally fall. But is there an answer against all these Adepts from Neeb?
Yeah, there's no answer. I mean, the Baneling Nest would have been late anyway had he even had a lot of Lings, but GG, Neeb will not fall to the British Zerg.
Another pretty rough and close game, though, and very hectic, I think, as well, with the Lynx having an excellent defense early on against all these Adepts, only losing 2 drones, and then eventually apparently killing the Prism as well, with maybe 1 or 2 Adepts in it, and forcing the defensive Archon warp in. I just think that one moment where he had those 30 Lynx, maybe if he would have just gone for the Nexus immediately, as the Archons were still morphing, if he gets a cancel just one time on the Nexus, I think that would have been massive, but I guess it would have been hard. The very first time the Link count wasn't that high, and there were 2 Adepts coming in, so it would have been #risky. Maybe he gets it, maybe he doesn't, but he would end up losing some Links. Either way, puts up a good fight. All 3 players of the UK really look quite solid to me. It's an excellent team. It's going to be a real shame that we will lose either the USA or Great Britain here in the qualifiers, but unfortunately one has to go.
Yeah, of course, we are anticipating the revival of the Muslim, for he is the only person that has beaten Neeb so far. He lost to Neeb with an all-in, you know? Cheesy Neeb, right? That's the only way he wins. But I don't know, the next map being Vani, confirmed by Observer. I guess the same Colossus build could happen, but it's all in the same build, exact same build in the best of 3.
And it's very hard, I think, to make any sort of 2-base attack on Vani, because the ramp into the main is so small because of the pocket expand. That 2-base attacks, I'd be incredibly shocked. That would be probably the biggest surprise that we've seen all day. So we're going to wait a little bit until Great Britain announces their player. I mean, in all honesty, I think the Protoss, almost forgot his name, T-Ball played fantastic too. And if he says, like, Ben, I've got a sick build, PvP, Vani, literally never lose, you know, no warp gate, double Stargate carrier, straight into victory. Maybe that Ben says, well, go for it.
Yeah.
Or maybe that Risky says, like, no, my Spinecrawler Rush hasn't lost since, like, 2010. I can do it.
Yeah.
But we're expecting the Muslim.
Yeah, the Muslim. I think T-Ball actually would not have been bad. As I was saying, the Muslim is like any worse than he was and is a little more questionable. But as good as he showed and only losing, not anticipating a 2-base Colossus all in, it is going to be the Muslim. There's the confirmation. So on Vani Research Station, I think this is going to be a really good last game. It's... We're not going to go into ad break either, as, of course, we're trying to get the games done. I mean, how long have we been casting for? 10, 11 hours? Something like that? Well, we're supposed to start at 12.
Yeah, we started a little bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah,
something like that.
Solid 10-hour day, I guess.
Yeah, solid.
10 hours and 20 minutes so far, which is great. I've been awake since 2 a.m. since my body was a little jet lagged. That's what happens, I guess, when you go from California to Korea to Europe.
Makes sense.
On a certain point, you start waking up at 2 a.m. and you're just like, all right, this is really not going to go well because I know these are gaming days and this is going to be a very long day. But actually, time flew by pretty fast.
It did, yeah.
I don't know. The nation war spirit is real.
The nation war spirit, as well as like just casting these awesome games. I mean, it's of course it's always like so much more exciting to cast live. Standing as well has been a bit of a pain on the feet, but it gives me so much more energy. I'm excited for this last game.
All right, well, here we go. Final game of the day. It's been a very long day of StarCraft. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Keep the tweets coming. Hashtag NW4. Special shout out to O Gaming and Blizzard Entertainment for making this happen. And obviously this is only the very first day. Jess, it's your country. You got to do it.
In the top position on Vani Research Station for the USA, he is Neeb.
On the south side of Vani, looking at the main base of the man who's been on fire lately. Is he going to be able to complete the upset here? It is the Muslim.
A lot on each of these players' shoulders right here, as of course their team is probably cheering for them in their Skype groups or whatever they have. Neeb, I don't know, like, again, he did, I don't want to, I made a joke earlier about, like, he's only able to win off 2 base all-ins. Of course, that's not absolutely true, but Neeb does have that, I think, scary late game versus Terran, which he doesn't seem that comfortable with. I've seen him play Mass Gateway units, I've seen him play faster Colossus, and still get stuck at that point where it can't quite adapt to the person who has 10-plus Liberators.
I think it's safe to say that no matter what happens here in Game 7, you know, if people look at it, they're like, Neeb all killed. Yeah, that was to be expected. But all the games, I think, have been incredibly close. I mean, the game on Daybreak against T-Ball, that I think it's safe to say that was T-Ball's game at one point.
Yes,
you
it
know,
was.
Where, yes, he was down in upgrades, but he was up in disruptors. He was up a base. He was even getting his 5th base. He had almost everything going for himself. Then I even think Risky in the previous game showed some very promising stuff. The way he was able to clean up all these adepts, only losing 2 drones. Wow, that's a very fast Stargate. Stargate before Warpgate. Even.
Whoa. Yeah, that is pretty damn fast. Well, the Reaper should be able to... Well, no, that SimCity's a little bit obnoxious. He'd have to go all the way around to see it.
Yeah.
Or in the probe line, which is never suggested. Wow.
Reaper did not see it. This could get a little bit ugly. At the same time, the Muslim in general is pretty good in sniffing out builds like this. And obviously, the Muslim will also know that Vani is a very different map than Echo. So he has to worry about Stargate players. This is just a fantastic Stargate map in general.
Yeah, exactly. I think if you don't know what your opponent is doing, just guess Stargate. Sometimes even proxy Stargate off of 2 bases. But that just means keeping your Marines in your mineral line and your Wood Mine in your mineral line until you're absolutely ready to go with the medevac drop. Even then, sometimes the Terran will only bring the Wood Mines or only bring the Marines, for instance, and they still have enough defenses against an Oracle.
Yeah, Neeb has been playing around lately with a kind of a weird style where I believe it's like double Oracle and then into 1 or 2 Void Rays, where he uses the Void Rays defensively to snipe medevacs and stuff. I've seen him do it a couple times, and like I think it was good on like a map like New Gettysburg. I'm not exactly sure how it would play out on Vani, but I do understand the Stargate tech a lot, mostly because once again, there is so much space behind the base here. If you're a Protoss player and there's this one medevac idling behind you natural all the time, that becomes super frustrating. So having access to a Phoenix or having access to a Void Ray to chip away at units like that just makes your life so much easier.
Yeah. It is going to be the Wood Mines being dropped, so the Marines should be in place. If they're not in the right mineral line, then maybe Neeb can get some damage done. Generally, the Oracle does go to the natural, so it's usually a pretty good guess to send them there, but it looks like it's going to the main.
Imagine if this would have been a different map. The Adepts could have helped out as well. Let's see if this medevac... So far, it seems unfortunate for the Muslim as his medevac is heading into the base with the Mothership Core, while he doesn't have any Marines at all into the main base. So this Oracle is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. The Muslim a little bit late to react there as well. Wow, that's a lot of damage done already by Neeb. 7 workers. 8.
And 8, and he gets out of there without taking any hull damage. No, 9, 10. Oh my god, it came back. Did a loop-de-loop. They got 11 SCVs in total. The Wood Mine drop's going to start, but it was seen by Neeb. He's going to lose a couple probes to it.
Wow, actually he's going to lose a lot of workers. And don't forget, there is no robotics facility yet, I believe. No, he doesn't have to pick it up at all.
Yeah, that was unfortunate right there. He's going to just drop it in the natural, I suppose.
The Phoenix is always going to pick up this mine, right? It has to be.
Come on. Oh, there we go. I mean, maybe just hoping the medevac will get away, but there's no way. The Wood Mine's going to die, the medevac's going to die. Probably just better to leave that in the main base. But at least he got 8 probe kills. That region, that Wood Mine is pretty important.
And can it shoot one more time? The Oracle is making its way over, but I think it's absolutely going to shoot one more time. Neeb knows it as well.
Something's going to take the... Okay, there we go.
The Oracle came Unless you just pull everything away, then it won't shoot. So 4 Phoenixes, work account 42 probes. I mean, this graph is a little bit deceiving. That's because these probes are currently not mining. As soon as these probes will be mining, I mean, 43 probes against 31. Compare that to the 44 SCVs against the 36 probes we had on Whirlwind. It's safe to say that this early game has gone Neep's way.
Yeah, at least it was made up a little bit by that Widow Mine drop, but that was a very good opener. The Oracle is just surprising to go into that main base. Phoenixes are actually going to be able to get a tank even? No, okay, the tanks pull back to the missile turret. It would take them a long time to kill the tank anyway, but could have done some damage to it. Going to the main base pretty risky, but there's just not that many Marines. The Phoenixes aren't dying.
Good save there. Actually, all the Phoenixes take a lot of damage. Good save on that Viking. Could have been worse, but Phoenixes are actually great units in low economic scenarios, and this is a very low eco scenario. Until Stim is done, Phoenixes will always be able to find some openings, and look how fast Neep went up to 3 bases this time.
Yeah.
He's 18 workers ahead, and that should be even more. I think that's going to snowball, because there honestly isn't that much that the Muslim can do against this Phoenix harass.
Yeah, I mean, generally against Widow Mine drops, you can get that 3rd base. Just, you know, you realize they're not going to be able to push, usually until they have Stim. Anything before Stim is just too risky for most Terran players to do. Stim still has a lot of time to finish. He'll have tanks, and a tank push can be scary, but with this many Phoenix, I actually question that. Like, they get good pickups on the tanks, completely take away the damage. Resident Englave Adepts on the ground can totally take care of the Marines.
I like the mass gateway by Neep over here as well. He had 7 gateways in production at once, Resonating Glaives. Neep is realizing that, well, it seems like you don't want to go up to 3 bases. That means you have one very big push. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to get a robotics facility, to go up to a robo bay, to get a forge and stuff when I need additional upgrades. No, all I want right now is the highest amount of units I can possibly get access to, and that's why it's just going to chrono boost out, or at least pump out a crazy amount of adepts with Resonating Glaives and a couple sentries for a Guardian Shield and stuff.
Yeah, I really like this play against any amount of tank push, or any type of tank push rather, on any map. I think we've seen Protoss players try and go for the Immortals, thinking, okay, the first and foremost thing is the tanks, but the Marine count's usually too high and takes care of them. Mass Adepts should be able to take care of the Marines, and the Phoenixes should be able to take care of the tanks.
Yeah, this is starting to look very bad for Great Britain. A Stasis Ward has been dropped as well, and that would be an absolute disaster. Phoenix is going to sweep in and try to pick off a tank, and will be able to do so. Not before 2 Phoenixes fall though, but Neep is in a position where he can make trades like this. He's buying time for himself, he's mining so much more money. And look at these Marines actually taking a lot of damage from all these stims.
Yeah, I think Muslim's a little bit desperate to kill those Phoenixes. If he loses 2 tanks but he kills all of the Phoenixes, then that's okay. That's actually great. But unfortunately only able to take down 2. He is trying to get the 3rd CC, but it's building now. It wasn't even a transfer. If he's not going to push now, Neeb's going to get so far ahead.
Yeah, but then again, if he pushes, I think he's going to get murdered. He's
yeah,
like he has
actually
to choose between the lesser of 2 evils.
Exactly.
It looked like he wanted to push. Instead, perhaps Neeb right now is going to be the one that's going to push. He has 36 adepts. He has more adepts than Marines.
Yeah, oh god, no, that's not a good sign. No Widow Mines either to get that great splash damage. I mean, the tanks can do splash damage, a little extra damage. Liberators can help too. I suppose they'll be taken out by the Phoenixes fairly quickly with that high of a number. To Muslim, you're right, you had to choose between 2 lesser evils, and pushing on the middle of the map would have been overwhelmed. Defending still probably going to get overwhelmed, but maybe some amazing defense can happen. SimCity coming down.
He does have the right setup, right? If the Liberators already seized up, he has a couple of tanks there as well. He has a couple of Marines protecting the tank. Did he see these units yet, by the way? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think the Muslim has any idea that this is happening, by the way. So a lot of his units are still in the main base. At least he has 1 bunker, but can 1 bunker really get the job done? That is a ridiculous amount of adepts shading forward for Neep.
Up 50 army supply. At least the Muslim has that +1 weapons, I suppose, but +1 is about to finish for the adepts. They might not even need it right on top of those tanks. Phoenixes are trying to take care of the Liberators. A little late to that, as one is still shelling away, but a tank on the high ground taken care of. There's so many adept warpings with that Warp Prism.
Warping in 10 adepts at a time, 82 army supply against 30. USA will qualify after all for Nation War Season 4, but it wasn't easy.
No,
GG.
Neeb does it for the USA, so I guess the point where I'm starting to cheer USA, USA. But as I said earlier, the Muslim being back in form was exciting as well. It would have been great for both of these teams to advance forward in the round of 16, but unfortunately, only 1.
Yeah, I mean, that was an awesome Nation War. I really enjoyed that one. Great victory for USA in the end. But you really got a feel for the UK. I think it's safe to say against almost any other not super high-seeded nation, they would have easily qualified, because this seems to be an excellent team. Just a little bit unfortunate that none of these guys had a great performance when it comes to WCS events in 2016. But if these guys keep the motivation up and they keep on playing in 2017, there is absolutely no way that they wouldn't be seated very high in WC or Nation Wars Season 5. Getting way ahead of ourselves here. But, I mean, those are great players. They really put up great fights, and we got to know a lot more about these guys. We saw the Muslim being in great shape. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, the Muslim, of course, we're looking forward to his 2017 run. Teeble was impressive in his PvP. Even Risky, unfortunately, didn't see a lot of him, but looked good. I definitely agree. I think he can get the WCS points on the board for next year, and maybe Nation Wars number 5.
Yeah. All right, that means that we're going to head over to a very small break. It's going to be a little bit longer than the other breaks, roughly 4 or 5 minutes, I believe. So maybe it's not that small. It's been a long day, so give me a break. And after that, we'll be back with the group drawing. So if you're curious to see where your nation will end up, I'm very curious. I want to see who Netherlands is going to duke it out with. I have a lot of faith in my lineup. You know, Harstem, Uthermal, Optimus. I think the boys are going to do great. So I'm very curious, and obviously I'm sure that the O Gaming guys are quite curious to see where France ends up as well. So we're going to be back in roughly 4 or 5 minutes, and after that you guys will see the group drawing of Nation Wars Season 4. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone and welcome to the group drawing of Nation Wars 4. We're trying to decide who's going to be in the round of 16 groups, and there's going to be 4 nations obviously that will be drawn in. I've been joined by the lovely Midas Touch, who's going to be drawing for us. How do you feel?
I'm good. I'm kind of pressured about drawing for France, but I'll do my innocent end.
Okay. Please don't put us with Korea in the group. So, the way it's going to work, so basically we have the 4 top nations in WCS standpoints. Those nations are Korea, Germany, Poland, and USA that just qualified in a really, really tense game against the United Kingdom. So those teams are all split. They're going to be in Team Korea, Group Korea, Group Germany, Group Poland, and Group USA. The first thing we're going to do is draw in the first game, the first nation that's going to play against those 4 nations. So those are the lowest seed in the tournament. And this is Finland, Ukraine, Brazil, and Italy. So the 4 first balls that we are going to enter into this box are going to be those 4 nations. Finland, Ukraine, Brazil, and Italy. Midas, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
As always.
It's time to go. Who's going to be playing Korea first? Who's going to be in Group Korea? And we'll have the first game against the South Koreans. So just to remember a little bit, innovation, beyond, and zest. And that nation is going to be, please help me, this is Brazil. Brazil is going to play against Korea. So Brazil and Korea are in the same group. Now that we done that, out of the way, easy peasy. Second nation to be drawn is going to be playing against Germany. So this is going into Group Germany. Who could it be? And this is going to be Finland, right? That's Finland. Please help me. Yes, Finland. I know my flags. So Germany against Finland. Both are going to be in the second group. Now we want to know who's going to be playing Poland. That's also a pretty tough call. Poland, a really, really strong nation in Nation Wars 4. And this is going to be Japan. Oh, no, Italy. I didn't see the green at the other side. Okay, Italy. Italy is going to play against Poland. And obviously, the last nation should be Ukraine. Ukraine. That's it. Ukraine is going to play against USA. So those are the first matchup that we're going to have in every single group. Now, we will be adding the third seeds, sorry. So third seeds are Taiwan, Mexico, Australia, and Sweden. And obviously, my main guy here, he didn't get the right balls like right now. This is good now. He has them. He does. All right. So we're going to, once again, know in which group those nations are going to be. So we'll be starting with Group Korea. Who's going to be in Group Korea? Let's go. Sweden. Sweden will be joining Korea and what was it? No, I can't remember. We will be doing, a group overview after this is over. Germany. Who's going to be in the group? Germany.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I don't see it. Taiwan. Taiwan is going to be in group Germany. Who's going to be in group Poland? That's a scary group to be in. Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. Yes, Mexico is in group Poland. And the last nation should be in group USA. And this is Australia, right? Mm-hmm. No, it's not Australia. It is Australia. Australia is in group USA. And now we're going to be drawing in the second seed, which are France, Canada, Norway, and Netherlands. So this is the top dogs coming in, right? The second seed. Who's going to be in group Korea? France, Canada, Norway, or Netherlands? Oh, that is tense. Group Korea, and this is Canada. Canada is going to be in group Korea. Way to dodge a bullet here. Who's going to be in group Germany? Like, we've been talking, we want to avoid Korea, but I want to avoid, like, all those nations. Like, I want to avoid, like, Germany. Netherlands are actually super scary. And Netherlands, that could be France, too. Like, I needed to check. So Netherlands is going to be in group Germany. Group Poland. Actually, I think that would be even worse. Like, I don't want to have Poland. Everybody is actually crying in the studio right now. And this is France will be with Poland. All right. And the last nation should be, I don't remember. Yeah, this is Norway. Norway will be in group USA. So here we are. We have every single group drawn out. Because that was really, really fast, we need to show them on screen. And hopefully, it's going to happen in a couple seconds. We'll be able to talk about the Korean group. I can't even remember a single nation that went into Korea. Where was the... Oh, Canada. Canada, Brazil.
The first one was Brazil.
And that's it. So, first match from Group Korea is going to be Korea against Brazil. The second one will be Canada versus Sweden, and obviously this is a GSL double elimination group. So if you lose against Korea for the opening match, you're not out yet. As you can see, there's a losers bracket. 2 nations will make it into the round of 8. What do you think about this group, Midas?
It's okay, I guess. Maybe we have some surprises, but I'm not sure.
Brazil taking out Korea, for instance?
Everything is possible. France did it, right?
Yes, we did it. Anybody can do it, actually. So, yeah, pretty solid point right there. I mean, opening matchup for Brazil obviously is a little bit tough, but I think there's going to be a lot of the cool stuff coming out from Group Korea. This is our second group, called here Group Germany. The first matchup is actually a really, really tough one with Germany against Finland. So, really great opening match. And then Netherlands against Taiwan. Against, I guess, the lowest ranked nation here, Taiwan, probably going to be eaten alive by all those 3, because Germany, Finland, and Netherlands always do really, really well in nation wars. So just a really, really sick group, to be honest.
Yeah. All those pretty tough countries. First match is going to be great, I think.
Yeah, Germany versus Finland. Obviously, the high points of Group Germany, it will determine quite a bit about who's gonna be coming out alive and first place in this group. Because remember, if you come out first of your group, you will play a second place finisher in the round of 8 in the actual bracket. And keep in mind that those who will win the round of 8 matchup will be coming to Paris for the finals.
And it's good to be in Paris, right?
It is good to be in Paris, indeed. It's good to be in the O Gaming studio, obviously. We will now go into Group Poland. And that's the tough one. Oh, a lot of rematches, actually, now that I think about it. Poland versus Italy. So that's not a rematch, but Italy just qualified thanks to his youngster Renner, who actually reverse all killed China. That was a really sick game that happened on the B stream. I suggest that you go watch it. You could watch it on the Gauntlets, SC2 for English language, and obviously for French, you'll be able to find it. And then the second game is actually a rematch of the semifinals of Nation Wars 2 between France and Mexico. And back then, there was a guy called Major that actually didn't want to have fun with French people. He just did 4 kills in a row, and that was tough. You were in the venue, right?
Yeah, right. He didn't want to leave his chair, so he was like, "No, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna win," and it was tough for us.
Yeah, not really cool, Major. I hope he's not going to give us the same treatment in Nation Wars 4, but we know everything can happen. Now, the final group of the night, the final group of the drawing, USA taking the first seeds. This is Group USA. USA versus Ukraine. As a starting match, USA really had a lot of troubles to beat the United Kingdom, and at the same time, Ukraine, I think, all killed against Russia. So, on paper, I would argue that USA is a better country, but in terms of form, it seems like Ukraine is super strong. And the other matchup, Norway versus Australia, should be hard for Ayagas and his mates, but Norway always does well in Nation Wars. But all in all, 4 great groups, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty good with where I draw. So.
Yeah, pretty good at drawing things. Really, good job on this one.
Thank you.
I didn't know what to say. It's okay. It's okay. This closes out those group drawings for Nation Wars. I hope everything was understandable. And we will be seeing you tomorrow with Group A starting at 6 p.m. CET. Thank you so much for following us today. It was a great day of StarCraft. We had a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody involved. Keep tweeting. Send the tweets. NW4. And we'll see you tomorrow.